That's perfect.
Sure.
Sorry, I didn't check if to lead the pledge.
I would do that.
I hope it is.
I always forget to ask that beforehand.
Yeah, I would need to.
Good morning. Today is December 11th, 2024. The time is now 9:05 a.m. I'm Kevin Day, Chair of the Custer County Board of Commissioners. I will call this meeting to order. If you do have your cell phones, if you could silence them at this time, please. Which I have not silenced mine yet. And then if you could join us for the pledge and for the invitation.
I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray together. We thank you for our blessings as we come together today. Please bless this meeting at Custer County Board of Commissioners. Strengthen us with wisdom, patience, and kindness and goodness so that we can solve all the perplexities, problems, and choices that come before us today. We ask for your blessings for all our citizens of this great county. Grant us the grace to ask what you would have us do, and that the spirit of wisdom may keep us and save us from all false choices. And that in your light, we see that your light as we convene this board to and for the service of our Custer County citizens. We ask in the name of our Lord Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. If you guys need that shade down, you're more than welcome to drop it. I saw Rich had to move over. Kelly,
He
could
was
we
too close to me.
say what?
He was too close to me.
You didn't shower today?
I did, it's just my personality.
Kelly,
There's a double light in the corner.
could we get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Day,
Present.
Commissioner Kanda.
Here.
Commissioner Epp,
Present.
and Clerk to the Board, Kelly Camper, present.
And our attorney is walking around the building as we speak. Audience introductions.
Caitlin Womack, BOCC admin.
Vince Road Bridge.
Brian Lockhart, landfill supervisor.
James Gilbert.
Jim Shapland.
Rich Smith, Custer Sheriff. Mike DeMonis, Custer Sheriff.
Susan Barnes, under sheriff.
Okay. Any amendments to the agenda?
None from me.
None, sir.
Okay, we do have minutes from November 27th regular scheduled meeting and the special meeting on November 27th.
I move we accept the minutes for the meeting on November 27th and for the special meeting as well. Short and concise.
And I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
So the LATCF and ARPA fund earmarking, we still have $6,000 in there to earmark, so I'll have a budget amendment resolution on next Thursday's meeting.
On the ARPA one?
That'd be what more funds?
Yeah, what more funds? So we had 6,000 left, so we need to do something with those. So I have an idea, but
Discuss that.
yeah. So otherwise, I'm good with these.
Anything else from you? Those in favor then of approving the minutes from the November 27th regular and special meetings, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Bye.
Aye. That motion carries. I thought that was Dan coming around, but
I
maybe
think
it
it
wasn't.
wasn't. He'd come in the front door.
Yeah,
It was
It was
Vernon.
oh, okay. I only
You
had
need,
this
you
much
need to
to look
get your
at.
eyes fixed.
I had a
There's
4-inch
world of
window.
difference.
Commissioner items, Commissioner.
Basically CCI conference last week, kind of a interesting meeting. Jared Polis talked, and the whole focus is from Denver to to Fort Collins, and that's the focus. So, that was pretty much the general consensus. They're cutting their budget by quite a bit. So we'll see what we end up with, any state funds, so.
Thought it was interesting, and the sheriff, he brought up the sheriff's fund that got passed by the taxpayers. And for
Yeah,
7 years, and he didn't really, it's kinda strange he brought it up. He said, I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how you're gonna do it, cause you wanna hire people and then you can't keep them. Are you aware of that, Rich?
Yes.
And, you got ideas, I'll bet.
Of course.
Okay.
yeah, so it's
No.
gonna ramp up and then it's
It's
gonna ramp
go ramp
down.
down to nothing.
And
So
so,
you gotta be careful whether we hire people with it or whether we buy equipment and stuff. So it'll be interesting to hear what you got to say about it.
yeah, it was a kind of
Yeah, and there.
quite a turnover of commissioners too.
Yeah, there was, what was it, third?
59.
59, 65 of the,
Something like that.
I think it's a pretty significant amount. And I guess you and, are you going to, with Paul to the meeting that they've got scheduled?
Oh, new commissioner training, yeah, in January, yeah, 15th through the 17th. So I'll be attending that. And then I went to a collaboration workshop in Salida the last 2 days. It was put on by the Department of Energy. And they paid for that all, so it's kind of an interesting thing. So met with some other commissioners, from kind of the UOCOG group. So UOCOG, this was kind of ran through UOCOG, so. Stacy Terrell was there from Custer County Kids Council, and Buck Wenzel from town of Silver Cliff. So, just talked about collaborating with regionally and what we can do more of, so to help each other out. So. And then the BOCC meeting schedule is the next 2 Thursdays, so the 19th and the 26th. And then, we'll be meeting elsewhere and on Thursdays next year, so. That's all I got to add.
What kind of breaks us in?
Yeah,
Moving to Thursdays at the end,
yeah.
transition. Anything else, sir?
No, sir.
Mr. Kendall?
I mean, same things, the meetings I thought were very well done. The airport board met also, and Rich brought up, Sheriff brought up a couple items out there that were interesting. He has access to a Bell Jet Ranger and Apache and was it Blackhawk helicopters for free. For display, and nothing's free.
I don't think, I don't know that we have anybody to maintain those to keep them.
Well, as it turns out,
We actually do.
we do have a helicopter maintainer in the county here.
Well, there you
With
go.
working for the sheriff. So we'll see how that plays out, whether it's real or not. It'd be interesting. It sure would be better to get something on display than that Russian trainer we got out there with no wheels. So that was an interesting thing. Board's doing well out there as well. Tanks installed, waiting for the Sangre de Cristo to put the meter up. We got that settled yesterday. It was actually in the works since the 11th of November, and got it finalized yesterday finally. And that's one of the additions to the AP report, was for the cost of the meter.
Okay.
You'll see that. And Kevin and I are old hands at getting people to give us the status day by day of whether that TV tower is working. And we got notice that it was out for a short time on, what day was it, Saturday? We were gonna miss the ball games, and they were really upset. But it turns out that the reset that they're doing in the stations are working. So that normally that shouldn't happen. For some reason, KKTV didn't reset it, and they reset it, came back up.
Okay.
And that's all the news I have fit to print.
Alrighty. Couple things from me. think we're all aware that, Bob has been helping the hospital district board. I think we might, probably should have him put together,
An MOU with some money.
yeah, an IGA, that we can maybe look at next week.
Okay.
And, then present to them. Because he's been over there now, he's starting to put in enough work, I think we need to have that in place.
And I think I gave him a draft a month or two ago.
Okay. So, we have not addressed
Okay.
that yet, so, yeah, he nodded his head affirmatively.
Just
So,
to make sure I hadn't fallen behind him.
You didn't.
Okay.
I've been trying to get it on their calendar for a while.
so I guess if we could get that on our agenda for next week, that would be great. And then I know he's been working on some things, on, some changes to the personnel policy. I don't know that we really need, I think he's kind of asking questions more as to process of making those changes or something now. So looking for some direction from us on that, for some tweaks he's making to the personnel policy.
But, we probably need to have a workshop,
Yeah.
discuss in a workshop, and then we'll prove it in a meeting.
Yeah,
Right.
so, we'll need to get a workshop scheduled on that. And then, I guess the only other thing I mentioned to you gentlemen before the meeting, but I'll mention it now so that, everyone else is aware of it. We got an email yesterday that, the Game and Fish, not the Colorado, but the United States Game and Fish is just opening up their comment period because they are wanting to list the monarch butterfly as an endangered species now. So it makes you wonder just what kind of problems that will cause if you see a butterfly when you're out doing something in your field or whatever. So, Vince brought up the milkweed, so, just a point of interest there. That's all I've got. Dan, do you have anything for us?
Just let you know that planning and zoning, we had some conversations with them, and she's gotten me quite a few referrals regarding situations that have not gotten any results, and so sent out probably about a dozen warning letters, basically telling folks if they don't fix whatever problem they have by January 1st, that the county's gonna have to take some sort of enforcement action in county court. Most of these are January 1st, there's a couple that are January 15th. So, I think planning and zoning is finally getting to the point where we can't allow a lot of these zoning violations anymore, and that may come to a head, kind of all at once. If any of you get any comments or concerns from somebody.
Getting enough people in the county to where if it was a case here and a case there in years past, it wasn't that big a deal, but now it becomes that.
It does, I think it seems like there's a pattern, a lot of them are structures, dwelling structures that have not been permitted or that don't have permitted septic.
Thank you, sir. Do you have anything for us this morning?
I finished that vehicle project you put me on, so I have all of the VINs and stuff for all the county vehicles. I'll get you that information.
That's good. Yeah, we did, visit with, that gentleman at CCI the other day, so we can get those to him and they can put together some sort of a proposal that way. Thank you. Anything else?
Do we have a list of names that go with each VIN?
Like department,
Yeah,
yeah, There's an identification.
Okay.
So like even like sheriff's vehicle, I have the deputy that it's also assigned to, because that was sent to me, so.
Alright, awesome.
Thank you for that. Oh, we have no unfinished business. New business will be accounts payable.
I move that we approve the AP invoices in the amount of $215,017.30 plus the 2 late entries.
I'll second it.
We have a motion on the floor to approve the AP in the sum of $215,017.30 plus $2,638 for that meter install at the airport, plus $1,000 for the bond payment pass-through to the courts, for a total of $218,655.30. Any discussion?
No, none for me.
What happened to the canine? What happened to the dog?
I don't know if we,
Our vet bills,
Yeah, we had, like $730 worth of vet bills. I didn't know what happened to him.
yeah, I hope that's the routine, I'm not aware of any
Oh,
injuries.
okay.
When we first got the dog 3 years ago, it actually got attacked by a coyote, and it was an expensive, repair, something.
Yeah, I just happened to see there was like 2 or 3 vet bills for it there, and I was wondering what happened to it. Maybe he jumped out of the truck or something.
No, that was just routine stuff,
Okay,
and she is getting, we have a, appointment for her to get spayed.
alrighty. That was the only question I had here this morning, so,
I didn't have any other.
okay. I know you guys don't have a copy in front of you, but, public comment. Okay, those in favor of approving the AP in the grand total of $218,655.30, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Next item, we have the sheriff's request for financing new vehicles in 2025.
So, I have, two related topics on the agenda. And thank you for letting me come up.
Rich.
Morning, sir.
See you again.
Good morning. And this is Chief De Laurentiis, who works part-time for our agency, and he's really taken the lead on this project to help us with our, getting our vehicle costs down. And so in the past 2 years, we've had a budget on the capital side for around $160,000, which is enough money to buy 2, in last year's case, Tahoes, and then take them to an upfitter in Denver called Laws. And we've been using that upfitter for the past 9 years, and I think he does a good job quality-wise. But this year he's been very busy, and we're one of the smaller customers, so we get pushed to the back of the line. So we came up with a proposal.
How long does it take being in the back line? Months, years?
To do the actual work, a week or 2, but it's months.
Waiting to get in?
Months waiting to get in. And one of his employees quit and started a matching business in Pueblo, and then there's a guy at the Chevy dealer in Canyon City who's trying to start a business doing, but it's very important you do it right, because you're doing some high draw current in there and the potential of starting a fire or something, or wires getting pinched, so you kind of need to know what you're doing. And going forward, I would like for all the vehicles the sheriff's office to purchase to be V6s. And everything we have right now is a V8 and gets terrible gas mileage. And so going forward, Dodge has a product coming out, the 2025 Ram 1500 will actually be a 6-cylinder pickup with comparable horsepower to what the current V8 does. And so the chief researched that we could sell a Ram 1500 pickup with 180,000 miles, our Chevy 2500 van with 166,000 miles, a Ram 1500, 135,000, and a 16 Ram pickup with 143,000, and almost finance us purchasing 4 vehicles this coming year without using the $160,000 on the that we've used in the past on the capital budget line. I did go to State Patrol in Denver, and they donated light bars, which are roughly $2,000 a piece. There's a computer thing that controls it, which is also $2,000 a piece. Radar units, and a push bumper, which is also roughly $2,000 a piece. So we get that for free to put into these new vehicles. And then we've also talked with a local mechanic who would be able to do the install at the quality level we need. So it significantly cut the cost of outfitting, which in the past was in the $15,000 to $20,000 range, depending on if you had an outside light bar, inside light bar, or a K9 cage. And so I think this is a good deal for the county that we could save the $160,000 on the past year's capital budget line and finance it the first year using us just selling vehicles that we're paying a lot of money to keep on the road. In fact, in one case, we had a Ram 1500 pickup that needed an engine, a new motor, and our shop up here couldn't fix it. We also took it to a shop in Canyon just for a second opinion, and we had to buy a new one with a 36-month, 36,000 mile warranty for $5,500. So we're almost, in some cases, we paid more than the vehicle's worth just to keep it on the road.
Which vehicle got the new engine? Which year?
Number 7, truck 7, which isn't on that list yet, but that is ready to be picked up and come back here. We, depending on what we do today and what the commissioners agree upon, we can either keep that truck since it has a new engine and a 3-year warranty, or work with other entities within the county to keep that in their avenue, or go ahead and put it for sale. That would probably go into $15,000 to $16,000 range because it has a new engine and a warranty on it, compared to the other trucks listed here.
What's the actual mileage on that truck that just got the?
That one is also in the 140,000 mile range. I think it's 145. It's kind of surprising what these are going, the trucks and used vehicles are going for. I did KBB, and all the prices you see on sales are all below what their average is. I've got everything spelled out if anybody wants to see them. I just didn't want to make 500 copies, try to save money, so that adds up with paper.
So they're police use vehicles, so they're not in new condition. So every vehicle has dents and scratches and things.
So this is your guess, or this is what you wanna sell them at? What's the?
That is my estimate, going off of KBB,
What you could get for it?
what we could get for it, and I went below KBB's average. There's a low, a high, low, high, and then the average. I went below their actual average.
And you would propose that we would put it, the county would put it on, how are we gonna sell them? We're gonna just
So we,
advertise in the paper
No, no,
ourselves, or you got a plan?
there's a special national government auction site
Okay.
for vehicles, so it'd get more views.
We do it either on govdeals.com,
Yes, it-
and the money goes directly to them, then they issue a check, so we don't have to be involved in
That's
any of
good.
that. They tack on their 10% or 12% fee, whichever, depending on what you're selling and the cost. Or we go to Facebook, we can go to eBay. We had a lot of luck with eBay. You'd be surprised at how many people locally in eBay are actually looking for vehicles. And then I've had people approach us saying, if you guys ever sell any vehicles,
actually would buy all of them.
These are all four-wheel drive.
They're all four-wheel drive, they're pickups, and
Every car we need has to be at
Sure,
least all-wheel drive.
And that's why they're so desirable right now, and with if you go to any dealership, the pickup truck costs are through the ceiling. I don't even know if I could replace mine, for what the costs are.
Well, you can-
And Chrysler, Dodge, Ram should be coming out. They weren't gonna come out with a 2025 PP vehicle price. They are now because of the demand for it. The price we got would be comparable, but we're waiting. It should have come out last week, hasn't, and it should be less than what they've quoted us. And of course, interest rates have gone down from our original quote in August, have gone from 6.4 to 5.2. And speaking to the dealership who is authorized to give you the state bid price, he believes it's gonna go down another time before these are either, if we go forward, either ordered or received by us if we were to go through with them. He believes it's probably gonna be in the 4.5% for government lease rate. And it's 5.2 right now, which is down over 1.2 since August.
I would have a question, probably more for these gentlemen than you guys, but I'll direct it to all of us. Because we have been looking at possibly getting someone to manage our entire county-wide fleet, and that's why Caitlin put together those VIN numbers and everything, so we could get a proposal from them. How do we think that something like this would affect that if we decided to move in that direction?
I hate buying the new model year for brand new vehicles. We got that with the Durangos. My Dodge has not sold me, or sold this county anything but a vehicle that, we have had to repair and repair and repair and repair and repair. With those Durangos, right, and so it concerns me to purchase 4 brand new pickups that are brand new to the market, not time tested through the general population. The budget also is, there's no more $160,000 that's in your budget, so now it's 46,000, and we're still making lease payments on 3 vehicles, so 2 of those will be done this next year, thank goodness. I think it's a larger conversation, especially since you guys have the bulk of the fleet or a largest percentage of it, to talk to not only enterprise fleet, but unified fleet as well, and then can we bring this in, can we manage it ourselves? And can we do it without financing and paying interest? And because I do agree, we need a rotational to get them out, otherwise we're like some departments that went and bought all brand new vehicles in 1 year, and then if there happen to be lemons or, we're stuck then, right? And I think you guys would agree with that.
And they'll come up for replacement at the same time again.
Yeah, sorry, one of our neighboring jurisdictions bought 20 police vehicles all the same year and then couldn't afford to replace them.
Yeah,
X number of years down the road.
8 years, right?
So the only thing with Dodge they're really changing is that putting in 3.6 V6 high output. And according to Dodge and what I've read and spoke to the the representative, the engine's been out about 5 years. That's why they waited to change over. And that's what they were gonna get rid of the 5.7 years ago when they introduced the 3.6, but they waited to try to get some stats. Apparently the 3.6 is working out for them. The other thing we could do is go to a Ford, which I think State Patrol is using. I think they're mixing it up now. They were using a lot of Ford pickup trucks, because a lot of the push bumpers they're giving us are from Fords. So, we can price the Ford, Chevy, and the Dodge, all 3. I believe they all make a V6. I don't know the Ford's V6 or the Chevy's V6. As far as I know, their police packages are still, the Ford and Chevy are still the V8.
But I don't mind buying the commercial package either, which is what we've done the last year or 2, instead of the actual police package.
Well, the good news is, we got $80,000 potentially to do something.
Yep.
You can use something with, whether we're
the first
leasing
year.
it or not.
the first year.
And
Yeah,
we're,
the
But we do have plans for the second year.
Yeah.
yeah, we've already have plans in place for the second, third, for whatever the lease package is, to make sure that we can make and in the lease package here, that includes an extra $5,000 for lights and installation and that included. We don't have to do that. We wanna, if we wanna take it out of someplace else, and outfit the vehicles, but that's just in case we need any extra stuff that, you know, the side marker lights or anything like that, and then the installation.
No, we should pull that out of capital, that's a capital.
Okay, instead of and so you're down into the $40,000 range, so your lease is under $50,000 a year for the 5 years, at the 5.2 right now.
Right,
So that's manageable, in my book, that's very manageable for what the plan we're putting together to make those payments for the 5 years, easily.
but that doesn't include the other three that you're still paying on.
The
There's
other
still
one.
3 other lease payments
Right.
this next year.
Okay, so you still, which ones are still,
Ones
the
that you're not-
Durangos? I thought they
The
were,
Durangos.
Two Durangos
Yeah,
come off
two-
next
Two
year.
Durangos come off next year, and then we will have one Durango in 26 that'll have one final payment.
well, if we sell I don't know, did anybody give you a list or anything?
I emailed them that.
Okay, give you email that. Right now, there's 2 of the Durangos, that are 17 and 18 with the highest mileage we have. We could maximize our value to get off those 2 Durangos. We actually have another 17 with less mileage than both of those in the 84,000 mile range. So we would be able to take care of that final payment for 2025, because if we did get new vehicles from whoever, Ford, Dodge, Chevy, that payment would be taken care of, and the Durango, out of what we're planning on doing here, we'd have enough from the sale of the used vehicles already to take care of that for 2025 and 2026.
Does those 2 companies, do they manage sheriff's vehicles?
I haven't asked them specifically, it sounded like they would, cause I asked them, I said, does mileage matter, does holes in them? I mean, cause we're gonna put holes in, whether it be a road and bridge, landfill, whatever it is, we drill holes through for antennas, you know,
Enterprise did,
accessories, so.
because that was part of our conversation and was to getting those VINs and stuff for him from the sheriff's department, and that was a specific thing, so.
Yeah, and I'd like to see what Unified would bring to the table too, I don't want a sole source,
No.
I at least want some options, right?
Well, you
and we
had somebody
deserve
that you wanted us to talk to as well, I believe, when we first started this process. That
The-
might have been the
yeah,
Dodge dealership,
The
though.
Dodge manager,
Couple of
said
Dodge
he would
fleet
submit a
leasing.
bid if you guys were taking bids.
So, and I think what we're kind of looking at trying to do is, and correct me if I'm wrong, is to get somebody to manage not just the sheriff's department, but all of the county fleet, because Vince is in the same boat. He's got a lot of pickups over there that they're nursing along, and if we wanted to and had, you know, money was no object, we could replace every pickup he's got over there almost, because they're all way up there. So we've kind of gotten into that.
One thing is the police vehicles have to be able to drive 100 miles an hour across the county to get to someplace in emergency. And even on the day of the shooting, we had posse members come in, pick up the pickups, and then bring supplies out to us at the scene, so.
So how many pickups, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, how many other?
One of those is a van up on top, our
Yeah.
prison transport.
Oh, yeah.
There's 1, 2, 3 pickups, that one that just had the engine replaced could be added to this, so that would be 4 pickups. And then I've got 2 Durangos, which could be added with another 17 Durango to make it 3 Durangos. So you'd be well over the $100,000 mark, because that one Durango only has 84,000 miles.
How many
on it.
good vehicles do you have left if we unload all these and you're only gonna get 2 vehicles back?
Well, that wouldn't.
We wouldn't be able to do that.
We wouldn't be able to do that with 2 vehicles
We're
back.
talking about replacing with
Yeah.
4 vehicles, and then with that
Replace all
van,
4
the
of them.
transport van would be replaced with the state bid package van that the state put out. This van we have, top heavy, older, several,
The commissioner has ridden in it. so-
Oh, yeah. Not as a, not as a
Was
thief.
he cuffed? Was he in a cage?
So the 2025
Loosen these for me.
state bid is on a all-wheel drive vehicle, a little bit safer for the deputies if they gotta go to Pueblo or go up to Denver, bring a prisoner, so that's a big concern, is more safety than anything, but the roads, took me over an hour to get in, the roads are kinda black ice today on 96 and 67 and stuff, so a little bit treacherous, and that top-heavy vans, I don't know why they always went with those big vans. Those things are so top-heavy and they're rear-wheel drive, those big vans, so that would be the other thing. But the lease price, even with the van and everything, is still under that $40,000 mark, or excuse me, under the $50,000 mark a year leasing. If you went with 3 vehicles, 2 trucks and a van, you're under, where am I at, 5-year, you're at about $34,000 a year. So they're all very manageable in our book with a lease. It's just, again, like the commissioner says, like you're mentioning, it's just gonna have to be watched, that we make sure these vehicles are maintained properly and used properly, and so we maximize them to the best. I wouldn't have a problem with putting any one of those pickups we have right now, especially the one with the new engine, into another division of the county for use, because they're not gonna get that, like the sheriff said, that, jumping on it. That's why we had to replace the engine in this pickup. The compression went bad from internally, from jumping, getting on it and going across the county 100 miles an hour and going back down. Now, it won't have that problem. It's a totally new engine, and the other vehicles, if they're used by county shops or, other county services, I think they're gonna be fine for that, and then actually.
I don't know, Vince will get caught speeding from John.
We'll leave the light bar on it for him, so, and we'll take the prisoner cage out.
Was that 100 miles an hour through your construction zone?
And one of the things we'll do too is like, the push bumper, the cage, some of the, police equipment we're gonna use in the new
Sure.
vehicles to save a ton of money. I'm looking at per vehicle installation with equipping them out, saving about $12,000 a vehicle compared to what we've been paying, the 16 and 18,000 up at this company in Denver. So we're working at, the commissioner's request of trying to save money for the county
Good.
and still being able to supply the citizens of the county with the best service and to get us there.
Yeah, and one clarification is the van we currently have is a Chevy 2500, like a so-called 15-passenger van.
Yeah.
But we're replacing it with a 6-cylinder minivan, because rarely would we need to transport that many people.
Well, and that thing has a lot of electrical issues as well,
So,
that van.
The posse has to, like if they're driving someone to the hospital, which actually just happened, one of our prisoners had to be taken to the hospital. So you literally drive the van down there, drive over to the hospital, hit the battery cutoff switch, take your guy in, do whatever needs to be done, hit the battery cutoff switch, drive him back. And it's sketchy. And last year we had to go to Albuquerque 2 different times to pick up prisoners with it, so.
So let's cut to the chase here. We got 2 things in front of us. One, we've got a lease program that we can consider, because that would help countywide.
So I
How
think
do we
this is,
dovetail this, and then how do we make it work?
right, I think this is a bigger conversation than just this meeting. I think it's a workshop between us and you guys with the total allowance, and then I see that we have at least needs for 3 of these pickups. The 12 with 180,000 miles, it's probably time to maybe offshoot that one, and the prisoner van as well. I'd like to get the year on the one that just got the new engine, but I could see that 14, 16, and whatever year that one is.
I believe that one is I don't take a guess. It's gonna be in the 14 to 16 range. I don't have it in front of me. Let me look and see. if it's on my
Okay, you
sheet.
don't need to do
And,
that.
and from what I've got in the 50 fund, that was gonna make the 3 payments next year plus 2 more payments on two new vehicles, because we were keeping with that 2 every year thing, but only going to a lease instead of an outright purchase.
Right.
Um,
So I agree with you, Lucas. We need to have a bigger talk and work with these. And you guys put a lot of work into it, and we ought to figure out how we're gonna phase it in with the county road and bridge as well as.
right.
Because we can still proceed with some of this if we have to get the vehicles going. One thing that's for sure, the two services we provide are road and bridge, the roads and the safety, security has to be done. And so you gotta have the right vehicles to do it right. So, how fast do we have to operate here before you get in a problem with?
The reason I asked to get into the meeting is I wanna get in before you close the budget next week. I'd like to get at least some kind of an earmark going that I can survive into the next,
So we got it in there for 2 new vehicle purchases.
Okay.
Right, so if we lease them, right?
Yeah.
We won't be outright purchasing, but the 46, based upon if we can do the same, based upon your Dodge numbers, that would allow for the
Right.
lease of two new pickups.
as long as you say we're good going into next year, we can go back and get a bid from Ford and Chevy as well.
Right, absolutely, and I think that'd be good, and then maybe we'd have state pricing too, so.
We'll have state pricing on both those.
So that'd be good. So I would say, as early as we can in January, maybe towards the end of January, we have set up a workshop and maybe we'll have Enterprise's numbers by that time. And if we can go, I'll go out to this unified fleet servicing and see what they have provided, and then we can maybe look at our whole thing and go, okay, where do some of these, cause we probably have use for at least 3 of them. So,
But definitely
recycling needs
the new
that
motor,
backup
we need to
needs.
keep on to that, cause it's. a
right,
big
cause we
investment.
just spent some money.
Get our
on it.
money's worth
And
back
the
out.
2024 leasing price from Dodge was originally $42,490, and like it's the 2025, just regular price with this, basically a state, like figure, they tried to figure it out as close as they could, was almost 48. He doesn't think that Dodge is gonna be up that high, it's gonna come down, it's not gonna go up, or it's not gonna stay the
Interest rates
same.
will come down too.
Yeah, exactly, so.
Yeah, and they might come, they were talking about going down another 0.25%.
Yeah, they believe they're
So-
gonna go down into the 4s for, the 4 point something for leasing compared to the last one we just got
5.2.
last week was the 5.2, which is a big drop from August of 6.4.
Sure. Okay, so is that soon enough?
Yep. And then, okay, go ahead, sorry.
But I appreciate the info.
Oh, you're welcome, sir.
Now that I have the complete list of vehicles that we have, now we can really look at it, big picture, and more holistically as to what we have and where we can start moving things around.
I think we have a good handle on like mileage per month too, so we can
Okay.
project out, cause you don't wanna get screwed if you
Yeah,
get too
That's
new
good info.
too quick.
Well, we gotta do this one too, since you're up here.
Yeah, so that's the next agenda.
I'll get to it here in a second. Anything else on this?
Not for me. Good job, guys.
But the main thing is we could pay our own thing without any extra money from you guys for the first year and probably the second and third too.
and maybe we need to look at getting rid of that 12 pickup and the 13 passenger van and using that to.
They could do that and
Yeah.
could phase in with the fleet stuff with everything else.
Yeah.
And then,
But I think without all the information, let's wait until we have it all, and then we can go, okay, what makes
And
most sense?
I'll work on getting the Ford and Chevy, police package bids for 2025, so we have the 3 to compare to the 3 major
Okay.
ones.
And that'd be good information when
And that's
the
an all-wheel,
meeting takes place with these lease companies, management companies. If you have those numbers, and then we can compare to their numbers and the whole 9 yards
Yes, sir.
on that, so that'd be
Uh,
good.
We do have the state patrol donation in hand, it's in our show
Oh.
right now, so.
of all the equipment?
Yeah.
Awesome. And then all-wheel drive vans, there's not many companies that make one of the,
It's,
This
is
one
this
is one
one,
of
is
them.
them?
This is one of them, that's why the state went with that, that's why
Okay.
Colorado State Patrol went with that with the bid price.
you got
Cause
it.
it's all-wheel drive, it's a 7-passenger, and it actually comes with it's a prisoner cage already in it.
Okay.
So that's factored into the price right off the bat, so that's one of the reasons they went to that. They're trying to gear down from those bigger vehicles too.
Same engine in it? What's the engine in it?
I said 3.6,
It is the same
the same one as in the new squad, so they, like I said, they've been using the engine, I didn't realize this, for 5 years.
Okay.
To try to get some figures on it, that's why they held off on getting rid of the 5.7.
Okay.
Till 2025.
Good.
Good. Okay, next item then would be your guys' request for purchasing a used vehicle in 2024.
So I'll bring Susan up, the undersheriff. So we had a grant that we've had in play for several years, and we got suspended on it about 3 years ago, and we couldn't figure out what had happened. And it turned out that we had not documented some training that had to go, and so we've got that documented, submitted, and then they paid out the grant, which is how much, 50?
They've paid out 51,185 in reimbursement, and this was from funds from 2022. So that came to us, it was mostly earmarked for SRO and school security, anything having to do with the school. With that money coming in, well, that's actually a different thing than than what we were talking about originally, but.
So what are we
So I
looking
have
at here?
I have two resolutions
We got it.
for the budget, to help purchase a vehicle that is currently sitting at the used car lot here on Main Street. It's a Jeep at Hartbars. Another part of trying to take care of our vehicle woes here. So it's a 2016 Jeep Cherokee Limited. It has 40,000 miles on it. They are selling it for a pretty incredible price. They said that they would get it to us for $16,000 total. We have the money within the budget in several different line items, and so we're asking for a resolution.
Here's some of the comparisons. The comparisons on this vehicle, and there's a couple reasons we approached he's a local businessman. He has a vehicle that would be very useful for us in the sheriff's department. It is a true four-wheel drive, one owner, older couple from Westcliff here, who the gentleman passed away, and the wife has no use for the vehicle. It's been sitting in her garage, drove it, it's very good. The comparison on that same vehicle with almost identical miles or less is 19,590 on one, 19,000 on another. So he's given us a great deal on the vehicle, and 18,900, 17,900, 29,000. So the price on that vehicle would be conducive for us to get, and then that gives us the option of getting rid of one of the higher mileage vehicles, or getting our most money out of selling one of the 2017, 18 Dodge Durangos for a four-wheel drive vehicle.
How many miles though?
On this one, 40,000.
40.
And then the Russ Hartbauer is the guy who's actually done all the maintenance on it since this couple bought
And
it.
yeah,
so
he
What
said
year
he,
is it?
16.
16.
It's in mint, there's not a mark, I mean, literally not a mark on it. It could go on a showroom floor tomorrow.
Not yet, but if the sheriff's office had it, it would, right?
Yeah.
Or be wrapped around a tree somewhere?
No, claim to that.
So what we're asking for, we have two resolutions to the budget. One of them is specifically to cover that, and the other one is to get these grant reimbursement funds back out so that we can use them for the end of the year, for mostly what they were all intended for. What got paid, or how this got paid before, was the same way, where we had to do resolutions back in '22 to pay for what we didn't have the money for yet. So in working with Vernon, he has looked over these and said that what we are using this for works into what the money
He's right
was
behind you.
intended. Yeah. So we also have a fund that is called the Inmate Fund. That fund has been sitting there for a couple years now, since we got rid of the jail. The Inmate Fund was funded by, lack of a better term, like petty cash. It was the little store that inmates could buy stuff and toiletries and that type of thing. That got up to the point of 14,930.40. That fund's just been sitting there. It was actually at a bank. I had to go over and close out that account. We brought it in and put it in on a budget line. So that money will just about cover this Jeep that we're looking to purchase, so that we're asking to move that money, which is no longer needed in any way, shape, or form for inmates. We don't have a little general store anymore. Asking to move that over so that, into the capital improvements, so that we can purchase the Jeep. Of course, 14,930 does not cover the 16,000 for the Jeep, and that's, the 16,000 is out the door. So we added a small portion of that into the other resolution, asking to move that money that we received for the reimbursement from the grant. We asked for 10,000 to be moved into the capital improvements to supplement that purchase from the car dealership. On top, the rest of that money is to move into covering laws. We had talked about the upfitter that does all the equipment. They gave us one price and it ended up being another price, so we have two bills right now for upfitting the new vehicle that we already have and one that we still don't have from them yet. So we're asking for $10,000 of that 51,185 to be moved into capital improvements, so that we can pay that bill and that extra 2,000 on the Jeep. 40,000 of that 51,185 to be moved over to school security for safety equipment. I don't want to talk publicly about everything that we've done over at the school and that we're looking at doing for active shooter purposes. I think kind of everybody already knows what we've done over there. We have had to hold off on some of the things that we needed to get completed, and those items really need to get done quick, mostly having to do with firearms, active shooter, that kind of thing. So we're asking for that so that we can finish up that project by the end of the year, so that we'll start new at the beginning of the year with everything we need to have for the school in case there's a major incident. The additional portion of that, the last amount is 1,185, and that's for funding our new SRO. James Barr has left and gone to Brighton to be an SRO over there and making about $50,000 more a year than what we could pay him. So we have a new SRO who's mandated by state law that he has to go through a particular SRO training that is put on by NASRO. He already has had about 40 hours of assigned SRO training. That is good for him, knowledge base wise and skill wise, but it doesn't meet what the state requires for who has to put on the training. So we have to send him to a conference, and it far exceeds the just about $1,200 here, but that's just to supplement that.
So what does,
Question,
oh, go ahead, you can be first.
all right, thank you. So you got 51,000 coming in. I think I heard you say that was designated funds for
The SRO.
the SRO and that, and I'll get your response in a second, Vernon. And the last two items that you talked about, I believe fit that, probably the school security and the training for your SRO officer. But the transferring of those funds to purchase this Jeep Liberty, to me, off the top of my head, does not fit the requirements of that, and I'm gonna go ahead and let you answer that question.
So these funds are reimbursed expenses from 21 and 22. They were unrealized in those years because they hadn't been applied for reimbursement. There are no restrictions on these funds. This is old money, and with the proposed budget resolution, we'll make it new money. We've already spent it, there's no restrictions. This is allocation of unexpected revenue that's come in.
Right.
So
And it's a very
just to clarify the restriction idea.
And it's a very small portion of that total cost that we would be putting towards, because
Well, even if it's a small portion, if it is restricted,
right, yeah,
this
no,
time
it's
that
not
doesn't work.
restricted. Yeah, we wouldn't do
So,
that already.
well, it was only $10, but that's still, that's why I had that question. Second question real quick, and then I'll let you in on it. Jeep Liberty, How does that fit in your fleet?
Did you say Liberty?
It's a.
It's not a Liberty, it's a Jeep
Cherokee.
Cherokee Limited. It fits in the fact that it'll work either as a detective vehicle or administrative vehicle, whichever we decide to put it into. And it's a 6-cylinder instead of the big 8, the 5.7 Durangos we have. And as I stated, an unmarked vehicle, and it's true 4-wheel drive. It's basically needs nothing, the tires, everything's mint condition on this vehicle.
It's limited, that means it has leather seats, right?
It has everything.
So cool.
Heated seats and cooled. I mean, that's a $3,000 to $4,000 savings from anybody.
So that would be an admin vehicle, not because it doesn't fit into your
Not a pursuit vehicle.
fleet as
Yeah,
far
I think
as
it'd be a
the-
detective vehicle is what
Yeah.
it would be.
Okay.
Well,
Administer-
or we
or-
talked about me taking that vehicle, and that opens up a patrol vehicle to go to the guys, because I currently have the lowest mile Durango. And so that would open up the Durango.
We actually have a deputy coming out of school tomorrow, graduates tomorrow, that's a replacement for one of the deputies who left. And we really, he'd be driving a 145, 150,000 mile truck right now, which, after his training, his FTO school, which is not the greatest in my book. I think this is a great purchase for the county and for us. And then it also once, after we have some meetings on the other stuff, would alleviate, be able for us to sell some of those other vehicles or relocate them somewhere else in the county for better use.
Thank you.
And can I say something on this matter? I am so impressed with Vern in his position. He has helped us beyond belief. The county's decision to put him in the position he in has been, I've only been here 8 months, 9 months, but he has been such a plus in working with us. I applaud you on your decision on that, and Vern.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll let you say that.
So neither one of these resolutions made it on the agenda. So, and we've never, as far as I know, have never done resolutions just out of nowhere like this before. So I'll let you guys decide if this is what you wanna, if this is
Let me
the
ask a
road you
couple
wanna go
questions.
down,
Yeah.
but we have talked about, and we get beat up about transparency.
Well, the face value, the request is request purchase used vehicle. So we can approve doing that if we want to do, and then work, how do you do it? Whether it's another resolution sometime down the road or whatever, transfer funds.
Yeah, I would.
But I had a couple other questions, if you
Okay.
don't mind.
Nope, go ahead.
So.
Very patient.
What do we do to outfit it? You gotta paint it, you gotta put stripes on it, you gotta have a light bar in it, what are you gonna do? Just have it be
We-
undercover?
The Jeep,
Hmm.
we have all the equipment.
Used equipment,
Yeah,
used.
we already have all the equipment, because we got it all from.
Right.
So, yeah, if we're gonna we'll need a light bar on it if it's, depending on what we do with it. Right now, it's probably looking like probably coming to me, so that my vehicle can be freed up for the guy that's coming in right now, so that he has a patrol vehicle. With that, we don't have to do anything right away, but I still work the road every single night, so we will have to put
Well, I
at
think
least
you
a
would have
light
to have
bar.
some light or inside or whatever.
The state
Yeah.
patrol gave
The
us.
state
some of
patrol
those,
gave us those
so we
lights.
did that
Okay.
right away.
So does that have to be
You
painted?
reach up, push a little.
It have to-
No,
You're
no, it
Kojak
won't.
light.
not
they
gonna
call
put,
it
you're not
Kojak
gonna
light.
put Custer County on it anywhere?
Nope, we have stick-on
That-
magnetic
that's
stickers
okay.
for if we need that,
Okay,
so,
that's a question, there's no other cost.
right.
The only other cost, sir, if we're being transparent, would be the outfitting of it, the putting in the license siren, which we have the local gentleman, and it's literally
That's what you just said.
an eighth of a cost. We're looking at under $1,000 for him to install the lights, and like I said, we have everything for the car now.
Okay, so based on that, my view, I think I would move that we would accept their request to purchase that vehicle, and we can work how to do that, and then present a resolution.
Okay.
I don't think, we're not
Yes, sir,
entertaining a resolution.
that was our
That
intent
was you were just
Okay.
asking, how do we handle it?
And I was
And that's
telling you how
Vernon
we
telling you
were
that when we do it, we do have resolutions to move
Yes.
money in and out, so that we got a complete booking and it follows the CTA, our process with it.
Yeah, because I wouldn't vote on the resolutions today.
No. But I do
would
move.
vote-
that
I
we-
would vote on the request to purchase the vehicle.
And so I
but
move
not
to
on
do
the
that.
resolution.
that we
Okay.
accept
I think
that.
if we moved forward with this, then we could put the resolutions on next week's.
That was the intent.
Thank you, Commissioners.
He hadn't seconded it.
Yeah, we haven't
Don't thank
voted.
us yet. We haven't voted.
We went right into.
Don't thank us
discussion.
yet.
So.
I'll second.
All right, he seconds, moved and seconded.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to approve the sheriff's request for purchasing a used vehicle, which is a 2016 Cherokee Limited for the sum of $16,000. And
Even,
that's-
is that what it
That's
is?
the actual out-the-door cost.
If you'd like to see, here's the
So-
purchase.
No, I got it, I got it.
Thank you.
Discussion.
I think we've discussed it to death.
So, when do we get the other vehicle that we purchased?
Now
Last
we're
year.
saying the first week of January. Oh, he is? This year. Oh.
And that's another $17,000 to outfit that one, right?
That's already in.
Which is already accounted for in our
That's
capital
in
budget.
what I just explained to you, that was the two things from laws.
So it's $17,000 for both of them?
No, one is 17,000 and one was around, just generally, 17,000 and one was around 18,000, which we have the money in the capital right now,
For the 18?
minus about 5,000, which is what I explained in the resolution.
Okay.
For that other money is that 10,000 spot, would take care of the excess of those two laws bills,
Okay.
and that, $1,200 extra
Okay.
from that.
Anything else from here?
Nope.
Public comment? Yes, sir.
I haven't heard any pressing justification for the purchase of this vehicle. It sounds more like it's a nice to have, and oh, by the way, we found a good deal. I think the proposal needs to be better justified in terms of the requirements for acquiring a quote detective vehicle or a auxiliary vehicle, whatever it's gonna be described as opposed to we found this deal and oh boy, wouldn't it be nice to get a Jeep into the sheriff's department. And then the other thing is, if there is a bona fide need for this type of vehicle, why are we purchasing an 8-year-old vehicle despite the low mileage and the low price? Because that's inherently less reliable.
Thank you. Anyone else? Nothing online.
I mean, you guys can talk.
A couple things, as the undersheriff has stated, sir, this vehicle would take the place of a marked vehicle right now, and that marked vehicle would go to the new deputy who's graduating tomorrow.
That's not what was said. That was one option.
Okay,
That is-
That was not decided, so you don't have a
Okay,
defined reason.
Don't need.
Not a
that.
back and forth.
No,
gentlemen.
he's
Not a back.
making it one.
Okay, he responded to your statement,
Enough.
and then that's it, okay.
I can also respond to that just we currently do not have enough vehicles for the deputies that we have. We have 2 deputies coming on, through the grant funds, that actually are available to do right now, but we do not have a vehicle for those people to drive.
I know.
So, this frees up other vehicles.
Thank you. Anyone else in the room? Yes, sir.
Jim, excuse me, Jim Shapland. I've had a lot of experience with vehicles throughout my life and everything. This sounds like a really good deal, and I think it should be moved forward.
Thank you, sir.
I think before the sheriff's department
Vince
purchases a
Cook.
vehicle, they need
Go.
to have our mechanic, even though this guy was taking care of Russell's, it needs to be checked by our maintenance. to Make sure it's up to snuff, even though there's a maintenance on it. Is there a maintenance sheet with this Jeep at Russell since they did all the maintenance?
I can check that, I don't know.
But I think if not,
I'll do it.
that if Russell will allow it, Dan needs to look at it before the purchase.
No reason
Check
why
it
not.
out.
I think that's a good point, because they're gonna be the ones working on it and everything, so, if you could make that happen, if we move forward, that would be great. Anything else? I see nothing online, so I do have a motion on the floor to approve the sheriff's request for purchasing a 2016 Jeep Cherokee Limited for $16,000. Signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion does carry.
And would you put these two resolutions on the next agenda, please, next week?
Did you help me prepare that, Brandon?
Yes, sir.
Can you send me those? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, Rich. See?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Boom, 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 boom.
Well, it's a good thing we didn't have anybody else up there.
Yeah, it's a lot of arms crossed.
Good thing we're all right-handed too, Jim. Works at a nice slope.
Okay, everybody good?
Yeah, for a little bit.
Okay, next item on the agenda would be the EES agreement. That would be for the automated traffic
So
enforcement system.
what I've realized about this is gonna cost time, energy, money from both IT, maintaining a website. It's gonna cost the treasurer's gonna have to accept payments through this type of thing. It's also gonna cost the finance department. So I don't know if we have, I mean, Vernon and I have talked about it a little bit, but I don't know if we have true numbers on what this system's gonna cost us. We don't have cost of what it's gonna cost to put up the signs before this device is used. How often that's gonna be, I've got some concerns around this, that we don't know the true cost of this system.
I agree, we ought to wait and get it today at first.
So
We can
I'd like to
postpone
postpone this till we have true numbers and see whether it's a good fit for us or not.
it.
Free is
And,
not necessarily free.
and we ought to agree on the proposed numbers, $40 a ticket, whatever, all that needs to be ironed out
Yeah,
into a
And
plan, in
what
a
it's,
program.
right, what it's gonna cost each department and increased fees, because if we take those fees that we gather from that and only plunk it into one line item, say signs for road and bridge, it doesn't help out the other departments. We're
That's
just
what
building the
we need
general
to figure out
budget.
how we're gonna do it.
Yeah, correct.
Vernon.
So in association with that document that you have, I also have another document for the treasurer that needs to be signed by the commissioners as well. And it raises certain expenses that were unexpected in processing fees, and also implies a mandatory electronic file transfer of funds, which we don't do as a county. We need to.
To the company that does
Yes,
this.
sir.
Yeah.
So we'll need to liaise with our attorney here and make certain that the further documents are in compliance with our own policies and state policies too. But like I said, there are unexpected fees. The break-even point on this is 38% of people paying their bills, but looking at this actually puts it up closer to 40 to 50%. And we don't have the teeth, like they do in Louisiana, in this state to make these payments mandatory. So just want to put those documents here for further review as we move forward.
Thank you, sir.
I think the other thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong, Vernon, but this isn't the only company that does this sort of thing, so,
Yes, sir.
again, we're going back to, it's a sole source that we've done,
What's
and I
good?
don't think that is I don't think that's a good use of, I don't think we've done our due diligence, all I'm saying on that, so. Let's just,
Postpone this and let's see when you get the data.
okay.
I'm hearing that we would not like to move forward with that. Solvista Health MOU.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
How you doing?
Bernard, thank you.
You're not Solvista.
I'm not Solvista, but I am bringing their MOU forward. Solvista is our disaster behavioral health agency in the county. They do cover 4 different counties, but we have a very specific disaster coordinator. Many of you know Desiree has filled that role for a long time, and it is extremely helpful when it comes to this type of thing during disasters. And now Dee Nuding is a disaster coordinator. She's been attending our CES meetings, learning things from Des, who's still around part-time, mentoring and bringing her up to speed. I have a background in this in that I've started a mental health program before, and I have worked with the state behavioral health team in integrating these services into both first response and community response. So this really just goes over the resources that they may have for our county, which is psychological first aid, pediatric engage, calm and distract. That's a newer program. And then individual organizational and community resilience, which covers a lot of things about mental health, has to do with first responder safety. And then access and functional needs, which is an area that we have not really gone down that road much, but that has to do with folks who need services in a way that maybe is not as standard. And so this can help in that area of human services and public health. So this is an agreement that is basically a memorandum saying that they would provide these services to address disaster challenges and staff resilience.
So have we done this before?
We have done this before. This is just a really kind of a small agreement with Solvista. I don't know if we have a MOU in the past, that I haven't researched that.
We have.
I know we have one, but I
Because
don't
when I saw
know
this
when.
one, I remember you guys doing one before, so.
Yeah, so I think this is kind of
In the last
standard,
5 years or so.
standard procedure.
And this would be if they have the resources to apply at the time of emergency. We will accept that, but it doesn't mean they have to, or doesn't mean they necessarily will if they, especially if they don't have.
Yeah, and the language in most MOUs have to do with the word may, not will. And so it does talk about they may be limited to trained behavioral health, which I did ask what that meant, because I don't want untrained mental health working with folks. That just creates a lot of problems. And so they have specific behavioral health disaster response training, and they have volunteers because they do cover these 4 counties. They have other resources, and then they can also go up to the state and get behavioral health. So there are agreements between the HSEM, Emergency Management, and CDPHE for disaster behavioral health. So there are other backup systems to this, but this is our local provider and maybe more well accepted in the community rather than outside.
How are they paid?
They are volunteer for the disaster behavioral health. So they would be MOU just like any other resource, which is mutual aid.
Because I was gonna comment, this MOU does not address any monetary. Basically, it only covers services that may be provided.
Basically, it's just how we work together.
Voluntarily.
So,
And we were talking about how we want to integrate this more with public health as well.
thank you.
Okay, so I don't know who signs this. There's one
Well, I move
signature.
that we
Okay, all right.
move forward and sign the MOU.
I'll second.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor to approve the memorandum of understanding between Custer County Emergency Management and Sol Vista Health as presented here today. Any further discussion?
None from me.
Okay, public comment. Let me look here. Not seeing anything there. Okay, so those in favor of approving the memorandum of understanding between Custer County Emergency Management and Sol Vista Health signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. You wanted your,
Could I get a second copy so that they can have an original, please? Thank you. You want to scan that to me then? Thank you,
okay, thank you.
appreciate it.
Next would be our AIM application.
Yes, I brought the AIM concept paper to the BOCC in September, and then we were chosen to go forward to complete a grant application. This is for several opportunities. It could be for personnel, it could be for planning, and it could be for equipment. We are proposing that we apply for a personnel grant, and that would be to help with the mitigation program and to work with the neighborhoods and other existing groups to build interest in having mitigation programs and doing actual boots on the ground mitigation. So this would be developing projects, areas where there is high need for mitigation. And that would be according to some of the maps that we have, which show our risk as 88% higher than most counties in Colorado. So there is definitely a risk for wildfire that continues to be our highest threat in our comprehensive emergency plan, our highest threat in the emergency operations plan, and our highest threat in the hazard mitigation plan. So this would allow for that person to work part-time and work with those neighborhoods to build those projects. We've had 2 successful projects so far, and those have been on neighborhood property that was open space. And so we've been able to support that with a project. There are other projects around that also are close to federal lands. And we have gone out to the homeowners associations all summer, meeting with them, talking about mitigation education, what kind of support did they need. And so this would enhance that ability to do the project planning for mitigation projects in Custer County.
Okay. What is our overall mitigation plan to use? Because we can't forget that we've got contractors out there, we've got citizens out there that do this for a living. And we do not want to develop another, we don't want the county to be competing drastically with our citizens that do this.
Correct.
So what is our plan, our overall plan over all of our mitigation efforts to bring in all the players? Where is our priority, not only properties, but from a county standpoint, what does the county need to do for its own mitigation efforts that we're not doing on our own ground? So that we're not telling other people, you need to do this, but we don't do the same thing as well, so.
Sure. So our strategy is being built in the Community Wildfire Protection Plan, the CWPP. That is not completed, but that is in process, trying to put all of those projects that are known, things like our high infrastructure needs, making sure that we have mitigation around our radio towers and other infrastructure. We hope to be working with Road and Bridge, because one of the things that we could do is more road treatment, so that we've got that vegetation being taken down around the roadways. So yes, there are some county projects that could be developed. There's also some historical places that can be mitigated, old schoolhouse, etc. So the big picture is that the county would support that effort, whether that be on private land, whether that be on county land, and that those projects would be prioritized. Right now, we don't have but a small list that is in our hazard mitigation plan. And then we can drive those things down into planning zones. So essentially taking the county, carving it up into planning zones, and then a lot of the mitigation strategies are really successful when we have cross-boundary and contiguous mitigation. So if I mitigate my house, that doesn't really work real well, because if somebody next door doesn't do that. So using the neighborhood approach, using our ambassador program that we started this year, and enhancing that to say, okay, now we're at a point where we need to come up with a community assessment. So there are several things that we need to do, which are planning oriented, but this person can help do that outreach into the neighborhoods to gather those projects and find out what the priorities are in those HOAs and other neighborhoods.
Okay. And so this is $100,000 grant, if I read it correctly?
This
Or
could be applied up to, I think it's 50,000, or maybe it's 100,000. I can look real quick. What I thought we needed at this time was a part-time person. So what I put forward on the budget was not to exceed 27,800, of which we will be able to claim an indirect fee, which when we're looking at grants, if we can have that indirect support that helps our utilities and office supplies and things like that. So that is 10 to 15% of direct expenses. So in looking at the budget and knowing where the county is at, and certainly wanting to honor that we, stay within our budget, I think we would be able to apply funds within our current 2025 proposed budget, which means that we would just transfer some of those funds from one account to another within the budget, and would work with Vernon on that. We have $10,000 in personnel costs that we could utilize for that, and then depending on what we apply for the EMPG grant, which is coming up here soon, we could up that amount that's in the budget. I think there's 43,000 something, but we're eligible for 52,000. So we could match those two grant funds together.
so is this what type of match is this AIM?
It's a 1-to-1 match, so they would match 1-to-1 are 27,000.
Okay, so we'd have to put up the other 27,000.
Correct.
Okay.
And is that the increase, because they're suggesting in their letter that you increase the pay in the application from what the preliminary letter said, is that the increased number, or is that the original number?
Well, it's the original number, so what I did with that, and I asked Robert to meet with me and see if that fits into the salary range, which I believe it does. The salary range was $21 to $23 an hour. Currently, we're paying $21 an hour. So I reduced the number of part-time hours to accomplish the same number. And then Robert said if this got approved, that we would work together to look at that wage, whether that's a salary band that can be torqued up a little bit, or whether that's 23 is the max for that type of position.
Okay, and so how does this person interplay with who we already have currently with Andrew Ford then?
Okay, so Andrew Ford is funded by a grant. We have a maximum of $9,000 in the grant, and so those hours will be used up. The primary focus for the mitigation person that's now is to help with projects and organization for that grant that provides additional training.
Okay, so this is what he's part of that training grant for training veterans basically to do fire mitigation, right?
Yes, and that team is a volunteer team, although we've integrated that some with Wet Mountain Fire District, which is a really great resource for us because, that's what they deal with all the time. And part of some of the grants, we have had to outreach to vendors. And so in one of the grants, we had to outreach to all the vendors that considered woody products.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have talked to a lot of the vendors who have indicated that they don't have a problem with a volunteer team. This is not a competition. This is not a county enabling people who can afford it. This is a way to get this work done. And oftentimes what happens is you want to go out there and cut those things down, but then you're left with the slash, or you're left with no way to get rid of that. So the strategies around fire mitigation are to take that slash and either make it into a product, which is a biomass product, which we don't have the infrastructure to do at this time and don't have a need to take that slash somewhere to get rid of it, burn that slash, or chip that slash. And so all of these strategies to assist homeowners are to motivate them to do the work. And so the team is going to a certified burner class in January as a part of the grant, because burning is another strategy. For example, this winter, they've been burning a lot of piles down in Kuchara. U.S. Forest Service does their work, and then they burn those things. So we could also utilize those strategies, obviously working with having burn permits and all that.
So I guess a couple of quick questions from me then. Does this allow for, this is basically, you're only asking for funding for personnel for this project. So would it have been possible if you were moving forward with projects for something that would allow, say, to put out for bids, say for some of the mitigation companies in the county or something like that? If your volunteer source was not adequate?
Absolutely. We're not mature enough to have those bigger grants with the bigger projects, because our landscape of communities that intersect with the federal lands We have not done that intensified planning with the projects. But absolutely, that is the plan down the road, is to utilize our local contractors for some larger projects. We know our team is going to potentially be still small compared to masticators and other equipment that, logging equipment that our contractors have.
And then you made the comment that the grant that Andrew is under at the present time is close to running out. Is that an accurate assumption?
It is still for one more year, so it'll
So you
be
still have him for
the
one.
end of December.
And so this is an ask for an additional person not to carry him over.
Correct.
Okay.
This grant is also for 1 year. So this is really what they call a tipping point grant. So our maturation of our program is that we have a small cadre. We'll be doing more training in January and again, probably in June if we continue to get all this snow. It'll be hard to get out there. And then essentially February 2026, this grant will end for this person. So they are really out there working with the neighborhoods and working with the community and the public to drum up the motivation and these projects so that we can get on the ground and do that work.
Is this, it almost sounds like their job descriptions are about the same.
Similar, what Andrew has been able to do has been mostly training for workforce development. So the co-swap grant that Andrew's working under is a workforce development grant. So let's say someone takes the training and they decide they want to go work for one of the contractors. That's great, because we built now skills for a person who can go back into the community and earn a wage at that. They have that skill as a sawyer, as a certified burner. So the workforce development is not just for the local volunteer mitigation team, but also for folks who want to maybe as an entrepreneur, want to open their own business or enhance their skills. We have at least 2 people on our team that are in that situation. We have a couple at the fire department. So everybody's kind of at a different level, but the idea is that we get people trained to do the work out in the community. Really, our goal is to get people doing the work, and that's the big strategy, is reduce the risk to wildfire.
So we, and I think we need a workshop with you, internal CES meeting, so we can discuss, these are our zones, this is where we focus our resources, whether it be money or to educate the public on, you guys have the highest risk. This is a medium risk, this is a low risk. This is what we need to do first in these high risk areas. I think that plan really needs to be formalized sooner than later. And then what resources, whether it be grants, whether it be equipment, whatever it may be, but then what are the resources the commissioners need to look at in propping this up, and what state and federal resources are there to assist us in what our goal is for the county? Because I do think fire mitigation is important. If we look at, if there is a disaster and those people just move out and it's gonna be a year or 2 before their homes are built, they may never move back. We've just lost tax revenue. And that ground may not be as valuable as it is right today, because now it's all scarred, it's all burned up. But those are just my thoughts, so.
Well, and every dollar that you put into mitigation will save $2 in recovery. And so these are FEMA lessons from the last 25 years, is that we used to put a lot of money into response because response is sexy, okay? It's chasing the fire engine, but recovery is expensive and very long-term. It takes years and years to recover from a disaster. So to prevent the disaster, it's an investment in the community, an investment that will protect those assets, whether they be, homes or property. But you're absolutely right. The other piece that really plays into this is insurance. And I'm sure people have known other folks or themselves have been canceled because they haven't been able to get insurance. This is really sweeping Colorado right now, the cost of insurance. And I mentioned to Lucas that I had someone come to one of our seminars who said they lived in the town of Westcliff and they were canceled. And I'm like, well, how can that be? You're in town, your threat is less. And they were canceling policies by zip code. So anything in 81252 is going to come up on the higher threat level. And so whatever we can do to promote doing that mitigation work to protect our citizens and our county from potential wildfire.
If we move forward with this, I'm reading the letter here as well. It says, are they asking for a letter of support from us as well as moving forward with this application, or are those two letters of support from outside of this office too?
They can be either. I would love to have a letter of support from the county commissioners. That would be fabulous. If you want me to get an outside external support, I will probably go to the Fire Adapted Colorado, which is FACO, for a letter of support and ask for one there, because they've been super helpful in building this program and the ambassador program, and even a mini grant for one of the neighborhoods to rent a chipper. So it's your decision.
So you could probably go there and say to the fire district as well, and might look better from those entities than necessarily from us. Would be my thought. I just wanted to address that because it was in that letter.
Exactly.
Anything from you, sir?
Yeah, I'm concerned about, we're matching $24,000. And that's another 24 from them. Is that what it is?
25,720,
25, whatever it is.
well, is what I have on my sheet.
27.
But they said
fees?
they said the pay rate was way too low. And they were worried about getting somebody to do it. Does that still apply? Their concern here.
It could apply if we stayed at the $21.
Well, that's
Although
what I'm asking. What are we
Yeah.
proposing?
We're-
Are we committing to 25,000 or are we committing to more?
Well, the latest budget that I sent over, I thought was 27,800.
Is that what they said is too low?
No,
No, it's the dollar amount.
dollar amount per hour.
I know, I get
Yeah.
that, but to pay that amount,
Yeah, it's about $2,000 more than what they had proposed.
see what I'm saying? Are we committing to more money? Yeah, if we're gonna win this, it says, they're worried that it's too low and they're worried about whether we're gonna get someone hired to keep them.
So either we apply for a little more, right, and increase our hours, or we decrease our hours because we're gonna increase the pay rate.
Well, yeah, but it decreased
we
the
stay
hours,
with the
are we
same
meeting the
figure.
mission?
We should be able to still meet the mission. I mean, certainly we could go up, but I know with the budget, trying to make it all work together, so.
Well, I don't wanna just hire somebody and then not have enough to get them to do the job and all we're doing is just wasting our money as well as the grant money is also our money because it's state funded and all our citizens pay into that, whether they like it or not, on taxes.
Exactly.
The hours that we have in there, roughly 1,500 hours, is that enough to do what this project?
You know, it sounds like you got him doing that, plus gathering up jobs, right? He's out there something, somebody is.
Doing the project.
Takes quite a bit.
Yeah, about 1,560 hours. at $23 an hour. And because it would be only about 20 hours a week, then we will defray the cost of benefits if that's a part-time position. So
Right.
I think it can still be done with that. That's not to say that I can't help organize some of the things. And of course, having the 2 grants, you cannot supplement this federal grant with other federal money. So we can't really combine 2 grants to make a full position. But we can look at the EMPG funding for part-time person as well. So that's a future discussion that we need to have, and I agree, I think this workshop would be a way to address that bigger mitigation piece, and also then to wrap in the staffing so that we had adequate staffing for that.
Cause I know our sheriff's biggest concern is Rosita. You know, if we would take the fire just outside of Lake Isabel and we would put that handprint over the Rosita area, we'd be looking at tens of millions of dollars of no assistance from, immediate assistance from, because it's, none of that is national forest, or very little of that is national forest, so. I know he's got some concerns about it because it is, his responsibility, he is that, over that. Wet Mountain probably has some huge concerns over that area as well.
Yeah, there are 560 parcels in Corona Verde, so it is one of, if not the largest subdivision. Then, of course, ingress and egress are also concerned. They do have a CWPP, Corona Verde does, and that would be definitely a focus, is to work with both Rosita and Corona Verde.
And I liked your, I like us doing the roads that helps Road and Bridge up with their budget. It's less that they have to do. It opens up our corridors of escape. So I guess I'd like to see that the focus. I'm not saying that individual homeowners, but there is independent contractors out there that do this, and we wouldn't be stepping on their toes as much if we stayed to the corridors. I think we'd get more value added out of it.
And fuel breaks, things
yeah,
like that.
Correct.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think it is important. I think we need to get to an overall long-term strategy and how we assist that going forward. I still think we're somewhat maybe too responsive or too reactive, and I know you're trying to get to the proactive portion of it, but so.
I think we can use the $24,000 somewhere else. For now.
Where do you wanna use it?
I don't know, that's not, we got issues with wages or,
So this 24,000 lives in her budget, yeah, and it's
I
for
know.
next year.
for next year, but I think you could use it better. I think, Robin, might be working with the contractors that are out there and with the guys that we have. I think, and use your budget, I don't know that we've had a hard look at prioritizing your budget, really, I guess. We haven't had.
So are you saying you would rather her take the 25,000 that's in her budget and do let's say our own Custer County mitigation grant that homeowners apply for and then use private contractors?
That's what we've been doing in the past.
It's new to me. I've
We've
never.
actually
In conservation, we had the, not that money, but.
The PILT money.
Forest PILT.
The PILT money.
Right.
Forest PILT.
Expand on that.
Well-
And that's a whole nother and we have got to use that this next year, use it up by this next year.
And see, and homeowners need to understand what's out there available to them, because there's a lot of contractors doing it, I'm very familiar with it. Doing that kind of stuff and getting more out of the land than just cutting down some brush around the house. It's getting them to do the whole, I don't know, if they own 300 acres of forest that needs some help. That's where it pays off, and they need to understand you can sell the logs out of it, you get the firewood, the team comes in, just like you said, veterans guys come in there and get the slash, whatever. But we need a program, and I know that in the past, it can be self-sustaining, because by the time you go down to every area and you come back around, the trees are growing back up on this side, you just keep going.
It's not a one and done.
That's right, everybody overlooks the fact trees are not, they think when you cut down a tree, it's never gonna come back. There's more forest now than at the turn of the century. And a tree does come back, it's a crop. And so, and the crop it has to be, like you see, grass fires and all those kinds of things, you gotta control it to mitigate that kind of thing from happening. So, we need to come up with a big picture program that the county has through, if we're gonna continue down the fire mitigation thing and use the money, that we can. Just because it looks free, it's not. It's tax money that these grants are. And we just don't want to dabble at it and say, okay, we got 25,000 here, and we're gonna go out and see what we can do with it. I was a half-time guy that may not be able to do it well enough. I'm just a little concerned.
Well, and that's a concern I have, is what is our big plan? And I know we're working on the CWPP, whatever.
Yeah.
But we do need, what are we gonna do this year? 26, 27, 28,
Right.
29? What resources are coming up in those years? Are there? Maybe there won't be. And so that year we have to supplement, we may have to supplement out of county taxpayer dollars. But if we have a plan and we know this is the route we wanna go, and we have maps, and we have a project that's developed for long-term. We're gonna start with this corridor and this corridor and this corridor, and then we're gonna go here, and we're gonna go here, we got zones planned. Without that, things do seem more reactive, but.
Yeah, and I do agree.
Then what do you need to put that kind of plan together?
Right.
Quicker, faster, because.
And people need to understand.
2007 was the last year that we had that.
Right.
We need to bring that up to date immediately, and
We do.
But the point you made is correct. Mitigation is better than reaction and restoration. A lot cheaper. And
Yeah,
that's why the feds have the program, because they realize the emergency the natural disaster funds that they're using, if we can prevent using those, it's less burden on the whole taxpayer base in the United States, including Colorado.
yeah.
So it's a good thing, but we gotta have the right program to do it and make it worthwhile.
Yeah, and I think we're building the right program with all the different components. We have an education team,
Right.
we have a boots on the ground, we have 9 sawyers that can go and do the mitigation work, with their focus being on people who really
And working with
don't
contract.
have those, yes. And I was going to also add that I'd be happy to do a workshop or a series of workshops that talk about what resources are out there for landowners,
And
including,
get the landowners in here.
yeah, including NRCS, watershed,
Right.
conservation easements, and have those kind of speakers available so that people are more informed. And we'll certainly come up with a program for the PILT funds, the forest PILT funds. Looking at what we did last time, there are a number of programs around Colorado, for
How much
example.
money we still got? We still have that.
around
Yeah, I don't know, about
66,
60,000 bucks.
67,000, somewhere
Yeah, I
around
think
there. And
18,000 in the PILT forest.
yeah, that comes in every year.
Mhm.
So a lot of that hasn't been spent.
I know,
A lot of that's sitting,
that's why we need to,
so, and it's
Use it.
gotta be spent by next year, so.
yeah.
So I'll be glad to take that back and improve our plan of working on the CWPP. I think everything that we've talked about really makes sense, that we
Yeah.
need that bigger picture.
Okay.
This, I hope, would be a tipping point so we can get that planning done and start working on those higher priority projects.
Can this help with that? I mean, would this help get that plan put together? Would this, I mean, I don't know. I'm just trying to think outside the box here. I think a lot of these decisions we make in an open meeting like this are workshops that need to be done before we
Right.
come into this meeting. And this isn't just on you. This is how we progress with our BOCC meetings, and they end up becoming workshops because we're trying to strategize for more than just the decisions that need to be made today. They're decisions that'll affect the next 5-10 years.
Yeah, because we're up against the wall here. You know, it's due on the 18th.
Thank you for having 8 days or 10.
At least-
Before.
at least it's not
Hey,
tomorrow.
I'm listening to you, Kevin.
Okay.
Thank you. So, I also have someone online that would like to speak, but we do not have a motion on the floor. So, that would be Cindy Howard. So, even without a motion on the floor, would you gentlemen be willing to?
I think Cindy was very valuable asset for you to talk with, and maybe that's part of the thing that you ought to get involved. I'm sure you've been talking.
Oh, yeah, we talk a lot, and I think she may have had to do with the PILT program.
She did.
So if there's no objections, I will let her speak, because it's something that involves her line of work as well.
All right. No, I'm good with it.
Cindy, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
If you'd like to go ahead and speak to us, please.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Doing great.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, you know, my day job with Fire Adapted Colorado, I work with Robin, mostly answering questions about, you know, where Custer County's been, where we're going. She's tied pretty closely with Executive Director Rebecca Samolsky. Rebecca just wrote a letter of support for John Van Doren's RPI grant. John's hoping to hear something about that in January. And then Laura Thomas is the training specialist that's been helping with neighborhood ambassador approach. So, you know, I'm really happy to see the capacity and the momentum that Robin's had going. She's got the wildfire mitigation outreach grant. She's got some co-swap funding. You know, she's doing a lot of things, and there hasn't been a lot of activity for several years. There's a few things happening that make the timing on supporting this, the timing on having your political will drive this more important than ever. And a lot of that is the administration that's leaving and the federal funding that's going to go with it. You know, we're gonna tighten up our budgets. I think I already heard at the beginning of this meeting, the governor's focus is on the northern part of the Front Range. Right now, Community Wildfire Defense Grant, the focus, there's a very special focus group on the southern part, the south region of Colorado. And that grant coming up, that the deadline on CWDG round 3 is February 28th. That's the grant that really puts the money on the ground. Beulah got a $7 million grant to do mitigation projects. And Butch's hazard mitigation plan, even though the CWPP is not totally up to date, the plan that he laid out includes 14 million in fuel breaks. So there are a lot of projects outlined in the HMP. I think the CWPP is still a priority, but it doesn't mean you can't continue to move forward without that, because you do have a FEMA approved HMP. And, you know, when you get those big awards, sure, there's contract processes, and we'll have to train the local contractors how to be competitive bidding. I know my time during OEM, the reason the local contractors weren't selected was because they were 3 to 4 times higher than some of the other contractors bidding. And that's just a federal requirement. You put something out for bid, you can't cherry pick your local contractors at a higher rate. My son, Cody, he's my middle child. he does fire mitigation in Los Animas and Morfino counties, and it's mostly funded through grants through the La Vida Fire Protection District. They've got an AIM award to get started post Spring Creek fire. They're doing these same things. So, contractors can be competitive. Creating demand is a good thing instead of nickel diming it. And you always start at the house. The 0 to 5 feet is the most important. Then the 5 to 30 feet, then the 30 to 100 feet. To think that a landowner's gonna mitigate 1,000 acres is a pretty tall ask, and it's not going to protect homes, and that's what we have to do is protect homes. I agree with the fuel breaks on the roads, the evacuation routes, the ingress, egress. I really hope you support Robin. I hope you get involved in the program design. And, people are really watching right now, the people at coalitions and collaboratives, the people at Arwick, the State Forest Service, Matt McCombs, Destiny Chapman. Those are the people that I care about, what they think about the programs. I don't care about a local newspaper editor that continues to beat the dead horse that you're competing with local contractors and, that we're not doing something we really need to do. We have a insurance affordability and availability crisis. We have mandated building codes coming that you're going to have to adopt within 9 months and enforce within 12 months. I mean, there's a lot of things happening. I'll close with this, Robin. FEMA says for every $1 you spend on mitigation, you save $6 on recovery.
Not two.
Not two, okay.
Thank you, Cindy. So what is your pleasure? I would put a motion on the floor to support this application.
I'll second.
Okay, so I do have a motion on the floor. Do we have further discussion here at the table?
I don't think we talked about it.
We do a lot of discussing before we get a motion.
It's all right. It's all good.
That we get to the same place. But now that we do have a motion on the floor, I can ask for public comment. James?
So I have a few, I guess, questions more than comments. It was stated that this is a matching grant, so you're worried about something like 24,000 matching 24,000? Is that correct?
Yeah, it's around 25, 26, 27,
Okay.
somewhere around there.
27, 8, yeah.
So the grant application then is for 50-some. And your money pool would then be 50-some if my arithmetic is correct. And you've been throwing around numbers, $23 an hour, $21 an hour. I think I heard 1,550 hours is expected.
Yeah, approximately halftime.
Okay, so that's, well, halftime is 1,400 hours max, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, so that turns out to be 3,560, 650 in salary, which if it's $50,000 already, you got 15,000 extra. I don't know what that's being used for. I'm not saying all of this in not supporting doing this. I'm saying support doing it. And I think you're gonna get more for your money because the money doesn't seem to be right. You're not paying $27,650 to somebody, you're paying upwards of the grant money less the fees that you talked about that would be charged back for administrative support and stuff. Now, if I'm totally off base in my thinking, I guess I need to be told that.
No, I think your math was right, because the total, even $22 times the hours doesn't come up to the total of 50,000 or whatever,
Right.
52,000, so the extra, I take it, was gonna be used for equipment. But I don't know,
What
maybe we need just more hours. right?
Well, I
Sounds
think,
like it's just an, inflated deal to me,
yeah, it sounds like,
so.
hearing all the discussion, that more hours would be able to provide more support for the program. So, depending on the hourly rate, obviously, could be at $23 an hour, could be $35,880, $22 an hour, $34,320. So I think James is right, we definitely have a few,
Now, they've approved
Potential.
this for this amount, or this is?
No, they haven't approved this, right?
So just to go back and summarize, the concept paper was put forward. They essentially chose us as a forward applicant.
Okay.
And so they gave us some feedback about what things that they could support and they wanted to see changed. They wanted a little bit higher rate because they were concerned about hiring. As you know, if you hire somebody, we have all the other housing and all those other things about our community that are sometimes difficult. Although I think people love to do this kind of work, working out in the community. So that grant will be put forward by the 18th of December if it was approved that I go forward. And then
Well, the way I read this, Robin, is it says the strategic value section could benefit from time, being more clear about it. In other words, how much money are we really, who, is it a full-time guy doing X because that's what is needed, or half-time or whatever? We don't have enough detail here, and that's what they're saying to us right here. To fix it, you got a week to fix it and come up with a plan. I think it should have been done sooner if we were really doing it right, like Cindy was saying. I support doing that kind of stuff, but I don't, we're just throwing out a thing and hoping we get some money, and then we're gonna go figure out what we're gonna do with the X amount of money that we get. We may not get it if we don't fix what they're asking here in the first place.
yeah,
Well,
and of
she
course,
did-
we have about a 33% chance of getting the money. Remember, when we apply for the grants, that doesn't mean we're get awarded. So it's possible that they get.
But I wanna do it right, if we're gonna do it.
Well, she did submit a concept paper and they were excited about what she put forth as a concept, and that is why they
Right,
chose
but boy,
us to
these three
move
things are
forward. So
big
it's
holes.
not like there's no plan in place, and that's what I'm hearing from you. So I would respectfully disagree, sir.
Well, and I think
No,
to
I'm
respond to that, I think it's part of our strategic
See, it's
overview that we haven't really drilled
with
down.
planning and the set plan, the big plan is not there in their mind.
Well, and Cindy brought up the CWDG funding, and Lucas has, of course, been talking to John about what this program could become in the future if they start a nonprofit that is very lands oriented. And so, you know, this program could get that kind of nonprofit support. This is really, I guess, I consider myself the spark plug for the program, getting the momentum going. I think this is what we need to tip it over into where we can get those details and the specificity, in addition to me writing the CWPP with our fire council, which we've been working on for about a year. I have several pieces that just need to be put into a document, and my goal would be to have that done by spring. And in the event that you don't want a homegrown option, which would be us writing the plan here locally, there is planning money from CWDG. Now, if we go for planning money out of the 2025 planning grant, then we will not be able to apply for projects until 2026. And so Cindy can kind of help support this if you're still online, that what we're seeing is that there's this major nationwide emphasis because we're coming out of one administration and going into another administration that may not have the same high level of plans to treat the landscape with wildfire mitigation. And so we think that money, there will be no round 5 for CWDG that maybe there'll still be money for round 4 if we can get the project going, the big projects where we have the contractors involved. So these are steps, and we're at crawl, walk, and those would be run steps. And so I think we have further decisions to make about how we apply for funding in the next year. So absolutely what you've been saying about having that bigger concept is paramount.
So do you think, so they've asked you, because this email does not guarantee funding of your proposal, but that you've been selected through a competitive process to submit a more comprehensive final proposal.
Fix what we got.
For consideration. And then they give, kind of 3 areas here. So does your final plan that you're turning into them meet these suggestions here? In that to put in by the 18th of the month and or are you still working on those? Because I don't have those in front of me.
Yeah, I don't have it all put together yet, but I definitely need to work with HR on the salary figures and put that together. And then some of those more specific detailed plans that do look at those projects and how we would support those detailed projects. So my plan is to address all the things in the concept paper. My understanding is that they get about 35 applications per year and that they fund 7 to 8 projects. And just another point, just to clarify about grants, even if you apply for a grant and the grant is awarded, you can choose not to take that grant. So even if we're given a grant and it doesn't seem like, maybe something's changed or doesn't seem like that's something that we want to pursue in the future, we can always say, you know what, we're going to pass on this grant award this year. So when I'm coming forward with applications, it's a roadmap of where we want to go, but it's certainly, we need the big roadmap to follow, and that doesn't mean that it's end all be all or we'll even get the money. It's just an application.
Turn it down, you taint it even the next time.
You can.
So.
You can also taint it by getting it and not spending it. There's just several things with grants that you have to be careful about. Absolutely, Bill.
So do we wanna have a special meeting on the 17th? Cause you have to turn this in by the 18th. Give you time to work on finalizing this project to turn back in, which is what we will be approving. Or I guess we have a motion on the table to whether we wanna go forward with this, but you still have work to do before you turn this in.
Bottom line is, excuse me, man, I'm getting hoarse. I won't support it the way it is. We all agreed in the past to have our meetings tightened up and come to the meeting with what we need to understand and make a good decision. And right now, we waste a lot of time today.
Well,
So,
I think we
it was
learned
good.
a lot.
We learned a lot, but that's not the point. We should have learned a lot getting us together sooner or a workshop or whatever. So, and I just, I can't get with it right now. So if you wanna do a special meeting, that's maybe we'll
I
look
would
at
say
that.
that doesn't necessarily lay on Robin's shoulders, but on our shoulders.
Well,
Because Robin's not the only one where Lucas made the comment a minute ago, we tend to work through these things when they come to us because we do not have the workshops.
right.
That's on us, not on the other departments. So,
well, the
I
point
would
is,
say
if they
that.
know what we want, then they get it ready and do exactly what we want and bring stuff to these meetings so we can tighten it up. Anyway.
Anything further?
One more thing.
I think I have any more comments.
Did you speak already?
Yeah, but I didn't use my 5 minutes.
He wants his other 2.5.
Being creative.
I'm gonna say no, sir. Because we have a one-time rule in, and this is turning into a very long discussion. Paul?
If I may, I just have one question, and that would be, was it the lady on your computer came in, was that Cindy?
Yes.
Cindy Howard.
Cindy mentioned liability. I just wondered if, in your workshops, if you would bring up, is the county gonna be liable for volunteers being on private property, not a paid person by the county? Just bring that into your discussion when you're doing that.
They are,
Working for us like that, they become
They become a-
statutory volunteers.
yeah,
That's
they
been
become an employee.
So yes, they are covered. Good question, though, Paul, thanks.
Thank you.
Seeing nothing else, those in favor of supporting the OEM moving forward with the AIM application at this time, signify by saying aye.
So like I said, I can't this time, if we looked at it down the road, maybe it'd work, but I think we can make it happen with the other grants that we have to get it, build up the next year's piece of this. I don't wanna taint the pool by taking a look and then having to turn it down if we don't think it's right.
Is that a
Of course,
nay?
no. It's a nay.
Okay, thank you.
But I have the right to say that.
Lucas?
I will say, I would like to see us move forward but we need to tighten up what that number is, so if we can reduce it to 20, because 40,000 or 35,000 can cover that person part-time, then let's do that. And let's, be more specific, let's address their issues here. Because I'd like to see us continue our efforts to, educate the public, help our own road and bridge, with our right-of-ways.
Has to be done.
Let's go ahead with it, but, and then let's make a very concerted effort that, we start and help me out, and I'll help you out on getting workshops built up to go through these things
Ask me if that's an
before
aye if you
we
want.
come in here.
I was waiting for him to take a
I
breath.
feel like
so
we're
I could
confusing a
ask.
vote with a discussion.
Yes.
Okay, so I have an A, I have an aye. I will vote aye. That motion carries. I will ask a question before we move on to our next item of business. Would we like to have that workshop on the 17th?
No, I think that's in January now.
Okay.
I was just gonna say, if we wanted to move the approvals of this till we had her work done to the 17th, that would be a special meeting.
Okay.
But that was the only thing.
Okay.
So I would say, yeah.
That motion carries. You are approved to move forward. Please address the issues put forth by them. Thank you.
Will do. Thank you for the discussion.
Good job. Come in and do it earlier with me, will you?
We'll do it.
Can we take a break, sir? I know Bill's looking at the clock.
Yes, we may.
I'm good.
Do you have a hard
We'll take
stop?
a short
Worried about the
recess,
guys that are still
and then we'll get to Brian.
Good.
All right. Okay, the time is now 11:28 a.m. I will reconvene this BOCC meeting here today. Next item on our agenda would be the landfill fencing project bids. Brian.
How we doing?
Good.
Kelly? Okay, yeah, in front of you, there's two bids for 5-foot chain link fence, roughly 780 feet. One is 19/7/60/32.
Thanks.
And the other one is 15/5. And for those of you that don't know why I'm requesting a 5-foot chain link fence, is because this will be going on the east end of the area fill, the new area fill. Which this area fill will give us 30 years of trash, 30 years of life for trash. And so, without a trench, to kind of block the wind, the trash is just gonna be blowing more than it ever has. Yeah. So it's an ongoing issue, always has been. We currently have, temporary fencing up on Sangre de Cristo's 2-acre, barbed wire fence, but it's just tough to handle. It, breaks down, and, I mean, it'd be good to have a permanent fence and not have to deal with it. So that is why I'm here today. So, yeah.
To be completed
So
probably after the first of the year.
Hopefully we'll take it out of the budget for this year, and they can, order the materials and whatnot, and then just work on it, They probably won't get it done this year, but the idea is to pay for it out of 2024.
So is it in your budget or not?
So it is, and Vernon and I can discuss that, if you guys do approve it, one of the bids.
Are we thinking about taking this out of the
So
landfill expansion?
So that's another place it could come from. Currently, the capital outlay line item is over, because we had to transfer that 55,000 for the down payment.
Correct.
So my capital outlay is burned up. However, I still have 9 in professional services, and there's 26, I believe, in fuel and oil. So this will not put my budget over as a total.
Okay.
You just got a load last month too, didn't you?
I did, yeah.
That's 26,000, right? That you're gonna be under somewhat on your fuel.
Yes, right. Well, McFarland, they forgot to, well, I don't know what happened, but anyway, I had to pay 10 invoices this last EP, which was like $6,000, I think. So there might be 20 in there now.
Okay.
So should it come out of the expansion fund or not?
Well, I mean, that's kind of where I think it should come out of, because that's part of the expansion.
It is.
And also, to another note, for next year, when we do the budget resolution for the, to transfer the money for the cubic yards to the expansion fund, it'll probably be about 15.
Not the same thing.
It'll be about 15. But, so, I guess, if you want to take it out of landfill expansion, we could do a budget resolution and transfer that, and do it for 2025. It doesn't have to be in the calendar year of
Right.
2024.
You're probably right.
So, unless Vernon has any other,
No, I looked at it, we've got 24,000 in landfill expansion, that's available funds, so we could do it that way.
so that might make more sense.
It's just sitting there, that's why.
There's enough for 424 budget in expansion.
But we could do it for 2025.
Mm-hmm.
That would make more sense, because then we have more time.
Yeah.
Because that's just sitting there.
No, and we're gonna add 15 or 20 to it when we make that
So like next week,
dollar per cubic yard.
before we approve the next year's budget, we can make that resolution to put that 15 in capital.
That's on the agenda
That's-
today.
that's
That's
two
the
items
second
down.
time it's been referred to
Oh, is it?
next week. It's actually
Oh.
today that we're doing that.
Oh,
So, cause the
So it
sheriff
is what
made
it
that
is, but
same comment
it's
earlier.
transferring over, so it still fits 25.
Yeah, so, leave it up to you, gentlemen.
Okay. And I would say your landfill is a lot cleaner than a lot of them I've seen, so you,
Yeah,
it is a
appreciate it.
struggle, I realize,
Yeah,
but you guys do a great job,
It's
thanks.
struggle for sure.
I would entertain a motion if one is so inclined.
So, I would move to accept the proposal, and I think it ought to come out of the expansion fund. I don't care if it's this year or next, but that whatever makes sense.
Which proposal are you accepting? There's two of them.
Yeah, it was the, Frontier one, that was good to me, I don't know.
So that was 271032, and the other one is 15.5.
So I was worried about the, low bid didn't necessarily mean it was.
Oh, that's fine,
It looked like this was a better proposal to me.
Okay, I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that. I think the proposal we got from Frontier definitely had more detail into length.
Sure.
And that all posts were gonna be set in concrete. So if it's gonna be for 30 years, a fence better last for 30 years.
That's what it says.
Close to as
Yeah,
possible.
corner post.
And hopefully longer since we got our waste diversion program going, so.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
As long as we don't use a new compactor.
Right.
Okay. So we are in discussion now, because I have a second on that motion, so.
Yeah, I proposed it, you second it?
Yeah, I seconded it.
Yeah, you did. So, I like the fact that he was pointing out it's a commercial grade, not lightweight duty fence. We went into it. It better last.
Well, you're reading from Jake Shy's.
No, wait a minute, that's the other one.
Yeah, you're reading from the other proposal.
Well, that's why I brought it up, though. This one.
The one, yeah, the one that is on the floor did state that, all posts, well, it didn't say all, it says posts are to be set in concrete.
Right.
Line posts are 2 foot. Corners and terminals at 3 foot, tension wire on the top. The other proposal said that the, corners and end posts will be in concrete, it does not state that the line posts will be.
That's right. This states the corners and the end posts as well. Okay.
Any other discussion here at the table? Public comment? That being the case, those in favor of approving the proposal / bid from Frontier Fence in the sum of $19,760.32, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries, and further discussion, that can come out of landfill expansion.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Sounds good, appreciate it.
Thank you,
Hey,
Brian.
Brian, he made this in May. He's still good with it, isn't he?
Oh, yeah. Well, I adjusted, so that one I read was actually wrong. That was 6 foot, not 5 foot. So you redid the 5 foot, yeah. Yeah, a week ago, yeah.
All right.
Okay, next item on our agenda would be the board agreement of joining the DA lawsuit. And we spoke to this a week ago. Fremont County and Chafee, I believe, correct, are the lead.
Yes.
If you,
Sure. We kind of informally spoke to this last time we were here, and the board gave me the direction to go ahead and work with the Fremont County Attorney, and then we would have this on the agenda for formal discussion. And based on my direction from the board, I advised the Fremont County Attorney that Custer was likely interested in joining the lawsuit, and I authorized the filing of the lawsuit from the county's behalf. And so that lawsuit was filed last week on behalf of Fremont, Custer, and Chaffey counties. Park County is not yet joined in, although I think everybody kind of thinks that once they start getting media inquiries, it's likely they will request to be joined into the lawsuit. Under the agreement that what we're asking the board to authorize entry into today, but under that agreement, we would also need to authorize Park County to enter into that agreement if Park County chose to do so. And so I also want to get kind of the board's opinion on whether they have any issues with Park County joining the lawsuit. I don't know why you would, but still need that approval as well.
And I guess for those that may not know, there is a lawsuit being filed against the former 11th Judicial District Attorney to recoup monies that were spent in defense of litigation against them that were, in our opinion, misspent. Is that correctly?
Yes, the district attorney used DA office funds to defend herself personally in an ethics lawsuit. I think the law is pretty clear that the only way that should have happened was for the DA to spend that money herself. And then if the ethics complaint were to be found in her favor, ask the DA's office for reimbursement of what she spent, which is what two other DAs who were eventually, I guess, exonerated. Those DAs asked for reimbursement, and that was approved after the fact. With Ms. Stanley, she used office funds to pay over $100,000, I believe, for her own defense, and in the end was disbarred, and thus she wouldn't have been entitled to that reimbursement under any circumstance. And it's not only that she just did that and oops, this was an accident. She did that, and when this was noticed, the Fremont County Attorney sent her a letter saying, hey, don't do this. This is kind of a big problem. Stop doing it. And she continued to do it. So I mean, that's where we are. Any recovery that comes from this lawsuit off the top would come because the Fremont County Attorney's Office is the one primarily handling it. Any of their costs would come off the top of that, and then the remainder would be split among the counties involved in the lawsuit based on how much we contribute to the DA's office. So from our perspective, it's not a ton of money because we're such a small part of the district, but it's still
money.
Enough. It's still money, and it's still enough to make hay about.
Yeah, right now we give roughly 10 to 12 grand a month to the DA's office, so. Yeah, and then furniture went missing, so.
She outfitted her office and then took the furniture.
So, anyway, we need a motion?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion to,
ratify
that Custer County enter this lawsuit along with Fremont and Chaffey, and that we are okay with
Park
getting in there if they so want to.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion on the floor to ratify Custer County joining in the lawsuit against the 11th Judicial DA, previous DA, as well as allowing for Park County to enter the lawsuit if they so desire. Any further discussion?
None from me, sir.
Just a quick question. They had a signature page that we can sign. But if they still want us to do that, I'll get it and we'll pass it around.
Okay. Yeah, I think we,
And I didn't,
Probably should.
I may have that here, but I don't know that for a fact. If not,
Yeah, I'll
You
get
can get that.
hold of it.
I'll look here in a minute. Public comment? Sir?
I just hope it's not about the money and it's about the principle.
As stated, it's not really a big chunk of change for Custer County, so that would probably be a correct statement, sir. Anyone else? Good, you got 4 minutes and 45 seconds left on that one.
That means 9 minutes at the end.
I don't think so.
No. Nice try, though. I see nothing online. Those in favor of ratifying Custer County entering, I lost my word, entering into the district attorney lawsuit, as well as approving Park County entering if they so desire, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Next item would be the Alpine Lodge liquor license renewal. I'll give that one to you.
So I received the Alpine Lodge. I received Alpine Lodge liquor license renewal for, the next year. And, received the funds for it, funds to the state for $750, I think it was, yep, and then to us for $100. And, the sheriff's report didn't show they'd had any excessive parties up there or anything.
Better not.
And so,
But as you didn't see it.
this is presented to you guys for, approval to renew this for the next year.
And I've reviewed it and I don't see any red flags myself.
Therefore, I move we, what do I say, accept the,
Approved.
approve.
I'll second.
Let's have a motion on the floor to approve the liquor license renewal for the Alpine Lodge. We didn't give you an opportunity to speak. Would you like to speak to it? You can sit there quietly.
I'd sit here quietly.
Please.
I would just tell you, this is our 17th renewal.
That was a question that actually ran through my head a minute ago, but I didn't ask it.
Wait a minute, we didn't ask for samples.
Yeah, what are you saying?
You're invited to.
We gotta see if it's good stuff they serve.
Come see us.
You're invited to the
Party
Rich
tomorrow, the
Christmas
next
party. All right, I do have a motion on the floor. Discussion.
None for me.
Okay, public comment. Seeing and hearing
Wait a
none.
minute. Somebody raised their hand.
Oh, yes, sir.
Jim Chaplin, I just comment that, I've been there several times, not as many as I'd like. I've never seen a problem there. I think this is a good item to go forward with.
Thanks, Jim.
Phew.
You get 7 minutes later. Okay, thank you, sir. Anyone else? Okay, that being the case, those in favor of approving the liquor license renewal for the Alpine Lodge signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, that motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
From the very bottom.
Our pleasure.
Alrighty.
Don't serve any monarch butterflies.
Okay.
You're fine.
There's place of the umbrella on some of them drinks.
Thank you. Or I'll let you know when I get it. Thank you.
We now have resolution 24-24 to adopt the 2025 budget.
Good morning, Megan. Good morning. Morning. Hey, Sam. Hello, sir.
Thank you for your help on those resolutions.
My pleasure.
The moment we've all been waiting for. The last budget revision, I sent it to you in an email. I have a copy here if you'd like to, if you want me to run
When did you
copies.
send it? Is it after the one
Yesterday.
that you got?
Yesterday.
She didn't include it?
that one in the packet.
You did or didn't?
Did.
That's what I thought, that's what I wanted to, okay, good, so it's current. Okay,
All right, so revised the budget letter to suit the current budget. And then on the fourth page in, you'll notice the property tax revenues from assessed valuation and the mill levies that we'll get to when we do the mill levy certifications. And then on the fifth page in, we have, excuse me, the consolidated budget summary and reference. And we all worked very hard on this to get these numbers pretty balanced and pretty close. So in general, so if you see on the right hand or left hand side of the page, we have the audited year-end balances for 2023 and then carried over through 25. The expenses are year-to-date. We are going to be under budget in the 2024 budget. So those differences are recorded there. But it all comes down to the last column, the 2025 column. We have expected expenses for the general fund in 2025 of $6,403,000 with a revenue of $6,237,000, so that's within $127,000, and that is actually better than we did last year and better than the year before. So we were able to balance the 20 fund mainly by, or the 20 fund is road and bridge, mainly by moving the capital expenditures into the 50 fund so that we can fund that a little bit more easily.
just for the public, make sure they know what the fund, 50 fund is.
The 50 fund is our capital fund. It's where all of our assets live. We pay for our land payments, we pay for basically improving our bottom line. Our vehicles live there. And so after conferring with our accountant and the attorneys, we figured we could put the road grader payments into there because that's part of our capital assets. So that's how we were able to balance out the 20 fund. And if you notice, it's actually, the 20 fund is actually, we haven't cut road and bridge. We've actually increased their expense line by approximately $370,000 this year. Excuse me, but it does come in under budget with a revenue over expenses, so that's a really positive thing. With the fund transfers, we were able to balance the 40 fund, which is our self-insurance payments. We did just get the final numbers for self-insurance, and they were actually within about $200 of what we expected to spend. So that was a bonus. Didn't go up as much as we wanted, or as much as we were afraid they were going to go up. And it's kind of triggering an internal audit to make certain that they have all of the correct numbers in vehicles and personnel and such. We pay insurance on all our vehicles, all our land, and then we pay workman's comp insurance on all of our personnel, including board members, interestingly enough, and volunteer members. So we pay for SAR, we pay for
BOCC. Anyone who's a volunteer, we pay for. So we're going to do an audit and make certain that we've got all the numbers, that they've got the correct numbers. Working with HR to make certain all of that happens cleanly. The 50 fund, as you notice there, we are actually $400 revenue over expenses. So
$400.
$400. We have $495,600 worth of expenses, and we have $496,000 worth of revenue. So that fund is balanced. 55 fund, which is lodging and tourism, that one is also balanced to a tune of only $200 revenue over expenses. 60 fund for for emergency management, that one is balanced to within $2,800. $425,407 of expenses with revenue of $428,253. So that's a positive, net positive. The 65 fund, which is the airport, and remember that includes the operational transfer of $68,000, but it is also about $3,300 revenue over expenses, so that's a balance. The 70 fund is a little bit different because we have some payouts that are going to happen at the beginning of the year that we budgeted, and some increased costs in DH. The 70 fund is DHS, apologies. That one is not balanced. However, in the end, it will be more closely balanced because those funds are very much reimbursable, be cut from the state. So, excuse me. At present, it's about $100,000 out of balance, but by the end of the year, with their reimbursements that they'll submit, that will record, that one should balance out as well. So, in the end, we're not going into our fund balances very much at all, and it's I think we're starting the year off in a better place than we have for a while.
Want some comments now, or do we want to?
I would ask a question. We have had this posted, and have we received anything, any comments or concerns while we've had this posted?
So the very first budget that we all crafted back in October was immediately posted, and it was not as good a picture as what we're seeing here. Our accountant and I have been working very hard to enter the correct data from the auditors. That all came in through the last part of October. And we have balanced out all of the funds and the fiduciary funds according to the audit, and so these numbers have changed a significant amount. Since then, we've also done a lot of work and analyzed what we are under budget on in 2024, and then adjusted the 2025 budget accordingly. This also, excuse me. Like I said, it also represents moving the road grader, yes, the capital payments from 20 into the 50 fund. So the numbers started evening out and balancing out as we went through the process and making certain that everything was entered correctly. In the last few days, I got some numbers from the sheriff's office for a special grant they're getting from the feds for hiring and retaining patrol personnel. So those numbers are reflected in there. So those balanced out the 10 fund, the general fund a little bit better too.
Okay, can I pick up on that?
You may.
Yeah, I want to make this sure because that people understand the actual revenues now. We're using those, not projected.
Yes, sir.
And also, there are no cuts per se. We've balanced the budget.
Yes, sir.
And because there's dirty rumors going out there that we're 100, 300, 800,000 in the hole, and blah, blah, blah.
No, you'll see the fund balances there.
Yeah.
Beginning and ending fund balances, we're not in the hole. It's illegal for us to go into the hole.
This is just for public, I don't,
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I meant.
Yes, sir.
And we're not gonna raise taxes, because we can't, we're not raising taxes, that has to be voted on, and people think we're gonna raise taxes. And DHS, that is only county funds that are used in that department are to give the infrastructure and ability to do the mission. Most of that money is state fund and pass through.
Yes, sir, they are passed
So
through.
that's important for people to understand.
Yep.
And so this is very good news. I want that to make sure everybody understands that. We have worked hard, the county, the people our departments lived within their budgets during the year. As a matter of fact, didn't spend it all, and we were able to make a more realistic budget based on that. And our process is cleaned up because we're reviewing the position of each department, whatever, quarter, this is a plan, but we've reviewed it a couple times this year and moved money accordingly. So I just want to make that point too. And therefore, I would move that we accept the 2025 budget.
You'd move adoption of resolution 24-24.
In order to do that, resolution 25, sorry, 24-24.
A motion, do I have a second? I will second.
Finance director can't find that. Second is.
I'll stay out of it.
You can't, yeah.
I will second that motion to adopt resolution 24-24 to adopt the 2025 budget. That will move us into discussion. I would like to say to you, sir, and to you, sir, I greatly appreciate the great amount of work that has been put forth by you gentlemen in working on this budget, as well as numerous other things at the same time, and
I'll second that.
Thank you. That was a big load. And I just would like to say thank you, because it wouldn't have happened. And that's recognized.
Thank you, sir.
Any other discussion here at the table? Public comment? Saving his time. Nothing online. That being the case, those in favor of adopting resolution 24-24 to adopt the 2025 budget signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. That motion carries. That will take us to resolution 24-25 to certify the 2025 mill levy.
So you have the resolution in front of you, and it's also, the breakout is also on the, like the fourth page of the budget as well. And fifth page, comparative summary of property tax revenues. You'll notice that everything but road and bridge is significantly lower than it was last year. And that represents a lot of things. Our mill levy evaluations have gone up very significantly over the past few years. And we are limited to, it was 5.5, now it's 5.2% of increase. So of tax revenue increase. So I spent a significant amount of time on the phone with the state and crunching numbers, and many spreadsheets were involved. And what we're looking at here is a mill levy. We're going to have to float our mill levies down to conform to the 5.2% increase limit imposed by the state. So you'll notice there that we have a general fund mill levy of 8.315 versus last year of 9.75 versus the previous year of 10.245. Road and bridge, it stays the same. Insurance fund goes down to 1.06 versus 1.5 of the previous year. Emergency services goes down to 1.532 versus 2 from the previous year, and then Department of Human Services goes down to 1.096. And I've created a spreadsheet that allows us to actually project out for the next 15 years exactly what our mill levies are going to change. The variable that we can't control is the assessed valuation, but assessed valuation is going to go up just, it looks like it's just gonna keep going. So the numbers I've seen are staggering. So each year we will have to probably float these down in order to maintain our 5.2% growth that is allowed by the state. So, but those are projections right now. Of course, something radical could happen, but as it stands right now, these are the numbers that are going to be allowed by the state for our mill levies.
Okay, I got a quick question. This is good too, I want everybody to understand this. Last year, we floated it down.
Yes, sir.
And the rule is, you can float them down all you want, you can go to 0, as a matter of fact, in some. But the next year, you have to recertify you're gonna keep them down. If you ignore that, then you're stuck there and you have to get a vote of the people to bring them back up.
Yes, sir.
So that's what we're, in effect, what we did last year is included in this, basically, because we're floating it down still. And so,
Yeah, if valuations drop by
right.
20 million next year, we would have to float back up.
Right, and so we have to we gotta remember that next year.
Yes, sir.
If we have to, because otherwise it takes a vote of the people to go back and increase the mill levies. And we can also do that if for some reason people aren't satisfied with the roads and the security and et cetera, and we only have a budget that supports X, then we have to go to the people to vote for an increase in the mill levy. Just so it's just on record so people understand the process. And if they want to pay for it, that's fine. So, okay, so I'm good. This is very good news that we've got it laid out like you have here, Vernon. Thank you. And therefore, I would move we adopt the 24-25 resolution 24-25.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, sir. Discussion.
Just to be clear, the title of the resolution is a resolution levying
yes.
property taxes for the year 2025 to help defray the cost of government for Custer County, Colorado for the 2025 budget year.
Right.
Thank you, sir. You didn't want to read the whole thing?
Title's all we
And
need
I
to read.
should have read the other one.
We said the
But we
title.
said the title, the other one.
So, all right. Further discussion? Public comment? Seeing none. Those in favor of adopting resolution 24-25, which is a resolution levying property taxes for the year 2025 to help defray the cost of government for Custer County, Colorado for the year 2025 budget year, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. That motion carries. Our next item would be resolution 24-26, which is a resolution appropriating sums of money to the various funds in the amounts and for the purposes as set forth below for Custer County, Colorado for the 2025 budget year. And this is setting forth the different funds, the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, those funds that were discussed a while ago. Would we like to have the dollar amounts for those funds put forth, or just the title?
Just the title.
Okay. And I would entertain a motion on that unless you would like to speak to it first, sir.
Yes, sir.
I'll move that we adopt resolution 24-26, a resolution appropriating sums of money for the various funds and the amounts of and for the purposes set forth below for Custer County, Colorado. So the budget year 25.
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A motion on the floor to adopt resolution 24-25 as stated.
26. Yeah, 24.
My bad, I didn't mark that one off. I had it covered. Resolution 24-26 as stated here this morning.
Sorry.
Further discussion?
So included in that resolution, it lists out the expenses, but for people that want to reference it on page 6 of the budget, there's a more detailed breakout showing the revenue and the expenses as well as the fund balances. And then I also included a reference sheet showing exactly what lives in each one of the funds. So 10 fund, we just call it general operations, but it includes everything from the assessor to useful public service. 19 fund is landfill expansion, 20 fund is road and bridge, 30 fund is a contingency, which is our emergency reserve fund, 40 fund is self-insurance, 50 fund is capital improvement, 55 lodging and tourism, 60 fund is emergency services, 65 is going to be the airport, and 70 is DHS, and all that's listed there. I figured it was a good reference for, so people that can read it, they can have that information at hand. And all of that's listed on the resolution as well.
Okay. Further discussion here?
The money from general fund that holds the LATCF money has not been moved yet, so that is not represented in this, so just be aware of that. So that general fund amount that you see
Has been active.
in reserves has the LATCF in it, so.
Right.
Actually, we moved that into deferred revenue.
Okay.
And so where we move it, it's on the books, but it's not representative as available fund balance.
Okay, awesome.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for that information. Anything else?
No.
Public comment? Seeing none, those in favor of adopting resolution 24-26 as stated, signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye. That motion carries. Any other additional items of business here this morning? Public comment? Making his minutes all until next meeting. Oh, yes, sir.
I was just gonna say, you've done a great job of making up for the hour meetings that you've had earlier.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anytime you need us to do that in the future, just let me know, and between now and the end of the year anyway. All righty.
I'll get you the signature page for the budget.
What's the grand total on
Grand total on,
that? Budget.
so if you go to the second to the last page, you'll find that grand total, it even says grand total, of the 2025 budget, we are expecting to receive $11,017,177 and a total expense of $11,153,939.
Roughly 11, huh?
So a grand total difference of 136,762.
Right. And then the other thing that public ought to know, I don't know how to ever put this out anywhere, but the grants we receive are an additional, what, 5 million, roughly, what is it?
True grants, I believe that we're sitting around 19% of our budget.
So
versus
20% of.
Yeah. 20% is somewhere around 2 million.
$2 more million that we actually operate with that the public never.
No, that includes this. That's included.
Is that in that? The grants are, okay, I want to make sure that it's clear to them.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
And all of the grants are listed in the revenue lines in the budget.
Yep.
So the first
So that,
25 pages or
right.
20 pages or so are going to actually list out the grants.
People lose sight of that. Without those grants, we would have less roads graded.
Very true. Our grants we would see a significant cut in services if the grants went away.
Okay.
Everywhere.
The gas
Yeah.
tax.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Vernon.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen. Everybody well?
Thank you, Vernon.
Well. Thanks. Absolutely.
And no further public comment. I will adjourn this meeting at 12:13 PM.
Yay.
So, you're welcome.